Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod the Names Burley, Jason Hornsby, JMals24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So, another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. With that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Am I coming in too loud?
Good afternoon.
Well, compared to you, I'm about the same. Okay, it's the last day I'm using this giant microphone. I've got two of them and I'm potentially going to be using it in the future, like with my daughter when she grows up, if she ever wants to do a show with both her and I. And therefore I've bought two mics with all matching everything, matching shock mounts, matching pop filters. I've even done matching modifications to them, and I've got matching boom arms so that if she wants to, we can do a show together, right? But that's no good if I don't know how to use the damn thing. So I've spent a week with the thing, like just using it on the show. I did the same last week actually with my new Neumann, but that's mine as opposed to something that I might end up using with someone else. As in, I'll get use out of my new Neumann large diaphragm mic. Anyway, this is the last day of this mic. So, having tested a couple of other things, I've adjusted the gain. Hopefully it's okay for today's show. How are you, Jardo?
I'm good, thanks.
I hate having a mic right on top of me. Shall I mess around with it? Shall I underboom it just for today? You there, Neil? Can you talk to Jardo for a sec if I underboom this? No, he's not. I'll do it in a minute.
Yeah, I'm here.
I could do it without closing the line and carrying on talking, but then you did all sorts of creaking noises, and I have to meddle around with this this PSA one. How are you, Neil?
Good.
Hello, Neil.
Any new news from the Duffy camp? I guess not.
Who are you speaking to?
Oh, it's just you and I, so.
Oh, no, there's been email sent. I'm just trying to gather as much information as I can from the responses, which has been hilarious. But yeah.
Yeah, if we just, what I was laughing about was how the witchy woman claimed she's just going to ignore him. I was like, this is not ignoring him, making a freaking video saying the final acknowledgement and then spewing all your nonsense. I think they're all working together.
Yeah. Because I've been around since day one and I've seen all these flat earthers grow up, I've got a little soft spot for, these people like Karen. So it was like a little bit hurtful watching Nathan go over Karen's video. I think a little bit out of context because she was reading from a Lady Blunt's book, which was written in 1904. But I get it, you know. If you're going to respond, if you're going to respond in kind, don't respond if you don't have proof, or respond with proof. I get that, but yeah, it was painful nonetheless.
Yeah, she brought it on herself. Her best thing to do is do what Nathan did. Just ignore it. Ignore the email, because he's reaching. We don't need him, but he needs us.
If Karen had just left her video response at the point where she had a video response and didn't then go on to delve into the Thomas Blunt book, it would have been fine enough. But when she did that, Nathan's right. You know, when you read that stuff, you own it. So
It's yours.
yeah.
I mean, there is a certain contextualization that you can offer when you read stuff like that, right? Obviously, if I was to read that book, I'm not taking ownership of that just because I'm reading, present tense, a passage from it, right? Because I'd be adding disclaimers left and right to say why it's not mine, or why I'm using it, or why, if I'm using it against somebody else, hostile witness, whatever it is that it's being utilized by me for, that particular book, right? Scientism in this instance. I'd be prefacing. I mean, number one, I can't see a context where I'd be reading from it. But if I was, it would be contextualized, right? That's to say that it is subjective, but most of the time, what Neil's just said is correct. If you're reading something like Karen was reading from that book, she's reading it because she wants to exemplify those words as her point, right? That is to say that she, ipso facto, by default, will be taking ownership of those words as she reads them out to her audience, to even speculate with them. They still become hers. They become her speculation if she was to clarify after the fact, oh, I'm only speculating with this stuff which others have done, like Witsit, right? Yeah, it's still yours. So straight away, you're going to get the full fury. We've done this cycle 2 or 3 times now. And, Karen's been part of it. And she's watched us brace against the people that she defended, and now they've jumped ship or turned coated or whatever. Now, if she's not a shill, who cares? But she's watched those people that we pointed out were doing these things with things like Ether for years, and she defended them. Same with Patricia Steer, but she's currently one of the turncoats, right? So she can't really be exampled easily unless I go back and start using past tense, but I won't. So in terms of what's happening today, she's been there. She's seen the criticisms that have come from us. Now she's going through the same cycle. So either she's one of them, shill, or she just needs some guidance. Well, tough shit. 10 years later, I don't care. She's not going to get my guidance. She's going to get my fury. She's talking nonsense. So talk nonsense, expect pain.
Yeah, but she said it in the beginning. She said, I'm going to recommend, or I'm going to tell you about this book. So she's standing behind this book and telling Duffy, here's your answers. That's what she said before she started reading from the book.
If she's not responding to him, here's your responses. Yeah, very shilly, double speak. You're like, okay, you're not responding, but here's your response, and your response is Ether. Shill, get lost. I don't change my tone.
One thing I will ask her is, when Nathan's book comes out, are you going to stand behind that book?
That's a good question.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jado. As in, the confidence that inspires in my audience, because this is being recorded, is wonderful, and it brings a big smile to my face. I need Karen to stand behind the book. It's self-evident in every word, isn't it? So it works both ways. I don't care if it's attempted to be invalidated, which it will be by our opponents. Like, what are you going to do? Bit rock and hard place throughout the entire book in that respect. you can contest the history that we lay down if we're talking about aspects of heliocentrism. It's like, well, fine, deny your own history, but it's well cited. It's plain and simple as we can make it. It isn't a simple subject, but it's as plain and simple as you could want it to be. And that's all you can ask when you're dealing with the history of heliocentrism. But beyond that, when we're dealing with the flat Earth stuff, it's very matter of fact. You don't need backing from other flat earthers in that regard, which I'm pleased about. I mean, I want this book to sell and hopefully support my family long after I'm dead. That's to say, my daughters will hopefully pick up the royalties from it when I'm dead, when it's still selling in 50 years' time. So that's my ambition for my book. Well, as much as it's a little bit annoying to hear people try and get a rise out of me by describing the help I'm getting from people like Adam as ghostwriting for me, like, in a 3-year process, that kind of is just the tone that our opponents like to take against us. It's got nothing to do with the actual subject matter at hand. It's just a personal attack on me when you actually break it down, which makes me smile. When you analyse it, right, while I'm getting grief from the people helping me currently. I mean, I don't know if they're just a bit jaded towards the amount of work that's gone on, and that's just a lot in general. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The point being that when the book comes out, it doesn't need approval. It doesn't need you to say it's good. It's kind of, it is what it is, and it's self-evident in terms of what it's presenting. Therefore, unlike Scientism and things that offer quite a high degree of speculation in their text, my book won't do that. It's very matter of fact. Halfway through the editing process, collectively, although it was at QE's suggestion, it was pointed out that what we're doing is creating a reference book. Yeah, it's no longer like it's got a tone and it's got a timbre used with the backbone of my story through flat Earth debate and the last 10 years, but the actual information that's contained within the pages is more akin to a reference book. So therefore, do reference books go out of date? Well, they do if standards like in technology change. You know what I mean? Like you might have a reference book about programming that changes, but it might still be the case that that programming language was right for that version, and that's why the reference book has got a version number for the language in programming that it's describing. So it might stay relatively relevant, you know what I mean? But generally not. But for things like this, when you're just describing the history of how Earth got measured for a significant period of time and still does, how's it going to change? Well, it won't. But that ultimately means, to get to the final point, it doesn't need approval. You do if you're offering your speculation about what could explain the rotation of the stars, like we heard from Aaron yesterday. Well, I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested in people's speculation on this stuff. Not anymore. That's partially why we've been, or how we've been, lied to. So I don't care. You keep your speculation. But that, by the same token, echoes in my pages when it's about what is, as opposed to what it might be, or what I think it is, or how it's been approved and peer reviewed from the ballers, or agreed upon from Flat Earth. Who cares? Just is what it is. It's measured that way, and all you can do is lay out how we came into the position of being heliocentrists as a nation or as a world, and the reality of how the world that we actually live in is measured, and that's kind of what the book has, or is what the book has. Therefore, doesn't need anybody's approval. It'll cause frustration in those who don't want it to be so, as they learn their own history of their own bull belief, and it will bring a smile to anybody who's a persecuted flat earther. But it's not going to, at the end of it, if you're a flat earther reading, you're not going to go, I don't know if I agree with that bit that he wrote. It's like, it's not going to have any of those sort of attitudes formed about it.
Yeah, the only way it's going to go out of date is if somehow Earth gets flatter.
You can't really change axiomatic flat measurements, though, can you? And how they are and what they are is what they were hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago when Earth was measured, are what they are now when Earth is measured, and will be how Earth gets measured every single time it gets measured moving into the future. So, from that perspective, Neil, no, Earth's not going to get any flatter. It just is flat. But I like it. It's an amusing sentiment.
Yep. But I've been the one saying it for years now, that we are all alone. That's where we find ourselves.
Okay. All alone?
Which is great. Yeah, it's just us.
I don't know what
I
you
don't
mean.
hear anybody else.
I feel quite pleased I've got a nice community around me now. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you feel a bit lonely at the moment?
Talking about people putting out content, not your community that you built. That's with you. You built it. That's included when I say we're all alone.
I mean, I still don't understand what you really want. You want other content creators. You want the perceived allowed to be in the mainstream narrative of Jaronism and Big Ball Dave and Bob to be us and our content, right? You want that perceived penetration of flat Earth to just have us in it? Is that what you're kind of hankering after?
No, I'm just saying after 10 years, we stand alone.
Okay, but there's more than... We're not alone. There's loads of us. What are you talking about? I still don't understand what you're talking about.
Then tell me who else. They're dropping by the wayside. Fisherman in the Box, which you did not even call out yesterday. He was in Discord. You didn't even say, "Hey, Fisherman, glad to have you here." Anyway, he labeled it as the 5 families, right? And everybody fell by the wayside, and we're the last men standing. I don't know what I have to do to explain it anymore.
Who are the 5 families?
Who was the number one show?
Groups that surrounded Jaron, groups that surrounded DeBay, groups that surrounded Patricia, Robbie. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess the beginning, everybody that was there in the beginning, right?
Who? Math Bowerland. He's still here. He's just bonkers as
Yeah,
ever.
what do you hear from him?
Pardon?
What do we hear from him? I haven't heard from him in years.
What are you talking about?
I watched him a couple
of nights ago.
He's been posting videos the last couple of days.
I was going to say, I watched him a couple of days ago. Yeah, Math Bowerland's still around doing his thing. He's still as bonkers as ever. He's beautifully insane as he always was.
I sent him a message and I said, "Can you do less guitar playing and more talking?"
Like I said, we're all alone.
No, there's loads of flat earthers out there, Neil. Loads. Do you spend much time on TikTok?
There's not a lot of flat earthers out there. And maybe I got to learn how to communicate, because I don't understand how I have to explain this any further. Did I say we're the only flat earthers out there?
Yes, you said we're all alone, end quote. Which is kind of we
FED,
and alone is...
FED, QE, ball busters. That's all that's left.
I didn't really pay any attention beyond me and my own. I'm quite selfish in that regard. I mean, occasionally somebody will come along like Jaron and go, "I'm more popular than you." And you're like, "Are you?" You're like, "Yeah, I've got the ear of blah, blah, blah." And you go, "Okay, well, let's have a look." And then I went and had a look, and what do you know? I had considerably more views than he did. I'm like, "I've got a lot more views than you." And he went, "Well, if Bob makes £20 for one job and Cecil makes £1 a job and does 30 jobs, is Bob doing better than Cecil?" I'm like, "No, Cecil's doing better. He's got 30 quid rather than 20. That's how he tried to justify having less views.
I'm not talking about popularity contests. All right? That's not what I'm talking about. Who else is there? Who else is speaking like we speak? Who else is laying it down the way we lay it down? Nobody. I don't hear it.
Okay.
I don't hear it. You got people talking about ether. You got people talking about domes. You got people talking about everything else but how Earth is measured and how we could show you that it's flat.
Okay. People don't do it the way we want them to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Not the way we want them to do it. All right, give me a video of Matt Allen that's showing you that Earth is measured flat.
Matt Pound doesn't do that. Matt Pound. I could, if I attempted to explain what Matt Pound did in his last 2 videos, which I dedicated a significant amount of time to watching, I might add, I probably couldn't give you the general theme of any of them. I mean, it's math, right?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Neil,
Math's all right. He gets a pass. As I say, he's beautifully bonkers.
I mean, how did we all come across flat Earth? You know, let's think back to the day when we come across it, and then the weeks after we come across it. What did we do? Where did we go for our resources? What were we thinking?
I was searching the internet to find videos after my brother mentioned it to me about flat Earth, and yeah, what if it was full of it? You find everything. You had old buses. You had freaking Eric Dubay, Mark Sargent had his clues. But then when I came to flat Earth debate, that was it for me.
That's why I
I don't know what else
contextualised
to
it
tell you.
earlier. Did I not say? So what you want when you say we're all alone is the perceived penetration of flat Earth in general to be focused around how we do things in lieu of I use Big Ball Dave, Robbie and Jaron, I think, but you've given a slightly different list, but the same exact thing that I was trying to qualify as you suggesting. What you want is the shill narrative and the exposure the shill narrative was given and popularity or perceived popularity that Jaron wanted despite me having more views. Anyway, to be us, just us and our message about Earth being measured flat, right? Okay. Well, it will be. I'll still be here, Neil. That's about longevity, the right word. Tenacity might be the right word. There's a few in terms of how steadfast you are in your role. And by role, I mean me as a flat Earth YouTuber. I don't mean I've got a role given to me by the CIA or some shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I thought by now, not the people I mentioned. I thought by now you'd have other people coming out. You understand? Other channels
Yeah, Neil.
feeding off
by
what we're
now,
saying.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's just see what I thought by now would be, right? With retrospect or hindsight, rather. By now, I thought I'd be in at least a 4, possibly 5-bedroom house with at least one hypercar parked on the driveway. I mean, I was expecting to have a Lamborghini minimum, probably a pickup truck and a family runaround as well. But where's my Lamborghini, Neil? I mean, by now, I should have that Lamborghini. I mean, I remember driving them thinking, yes, I will buy one of these. But where is it, Neil?
10th man prophesied. You don't know yet. You'll see. I remember him saying it.
Say what?
It's going to come.
What, the Lamborghini will come? I've checked the delivery date. I'm sorry, there isn't a delivery date. I just imagined that there was one for a second there, Neil. About the journey, right? The fact that I can talk with fond memories about driving a Lamborghini at all is something about the journey that is to be appreciated. Now, when I drove the Lamborghini, right, or there were several cars I drove around track days, you know, all of them extremely powerful, but as we're talking about it, specifically the Lamborghini, the thing that I remember thinking was, it ain't that fast. Like, my S5 is probably just as quick. And I was like, I thought it would be quicker, given it's a V10. But by comparison to my supercharged Audi, it wasn't that much faster. So I remember feeling a bit disappointed in terms of how quick it picked up speed. Thinking, I planted my foot in this V10 for Lamborghini, and I'm like, I was expecting more. So it was kind of a bit disappointing, because it was maybe don't meet your heroes, I don't know. But the point is, at the time, there was a certain sense of disappointment in what was presented to me, right? Everything else about it was glorious. The way it went around bends, the leery nature of it, how loud it was. When they took it between, because when they did well, it's quite funny with the Lambo, right? We had to drive across from where they did the safety talk to where the track was, crossed a public road. So we're all like looking at all these cars. There's loads of them. One of them, the Lamborghini that I'm driving that day, and it looked ace. But just before we set off, they came out of the back of this white van with these extension piece exhausts. These huge exhausts. And they bolted them onto the back of this Lamborghini. It looked utterly stupid. It looked really stupid, right? And I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, we have to cross over a public road in the car. I'm like, so? Like, yeah, well, if we drive across the public road without these attached and the police catch us, then we're breaking several audio rules, whatever they're called, like noise laws. So we can't drive across this. They only cross it. It's not like they're driving up and down it. They're crossing it, right? So, but to cross the road, they had to put these stupid exhaust tips on to stop it being so noisy. It's just utterly ludicrous nonsense that you think, oh my God, is that the kind of crap you'd have to contend with if you actually owned one? You'd have to worry about getting pulled over because you're breaking the rules of the noise levels. And the answer is yes, most definitely. But it's just stupid things like that again, you're like, oh, so if I actually had this, I'd have to worry about whether or not I'd be making too much noise. That's not something I'd ever really given much thought to. But look how stupid this car looks with these stupid 3.5 foot exhaust coming out the back of it. It just looks so silly. Anyway, that was the point. I didn't actually make the point I was making, which is back then there was an air of disappointment, but now I can, with fond memories, talk about driving that supercar, right? And how cool it was, and certain aspects of it I could go on about how fantastic it was all day long. But in this case, there's just a different part of the story that was amusing. But for the fact that at one point I was very wealthy and driving around in posh cars. I had a similar experience when talking to allegedly Dave, right? So I'm sat, I can't remember where I was, I think it was Kidderminster, one of the conferences that was put on in the UK, very underattended. And I'm there with allegedly Dave, and we're just chit-chatting. And it turns out that he had a Ferrari, but not just drove one around on track days, but actually owned it. I'm like, really? And yeah, he's like, dug out his phone and got his pictures of him in his Ferrari. I'm like, wow. And he's like, yeah, it's a proper pile of crap. It's Italian. He's like, oh, it's wonderful. Obviously, it's wonderful, but very impractical. You couldn't drive it over bumps, and it was all the rest of it. He's explaining how what pain in the arse it was, basically. But it's just interesting to be able to relate to people like Dave, and then suddenly go, oh, right, you and I have got quite a lot in common then. You've gone from an affluent life, earning a decent money, to now being piss poor and talking about flat earth just because you see more fun in life doing this than doing a high-flying, high-powered job. And at some point, explain some of his departure stories from his high-flying life are very amusing, but without, parroting Dave's stories, his experience is akin to mine in that regard, which is I could moan about how I haven't got those things now, but I have had those experiences, as has allegedly Dave, but by choice we're both here doing this. Now, again, a couple of days ago I was saying on the show that we get to sleep at night and don't get to stress and concern ourselves with the shitbags that we have to deal with, but they do. I mean, they're concerned with us, and we're not horrible people. I'm not out to get, I don't know, Craig, am I? Yeah? If you're out there listening to this, Craig, you're probably not, but if you were, I don't care about you. I wish you no harm. Literally, I couldn't care less about you. I hope you do well. That's why I try and put that sentiment out, talking down the camera, right? I share my YouTube love with you for a reason. It's to give you the absolute assurance that I couldn't care less what you do. If anything, I wish you well as a YouTuber. I'll pour as much disdain on the subject matter discussion as his needs be. But in terms of you as an individual, where we get loads of ad homs and personal attacks and all the rest of it, I don't wish you any ill will. Me drawing light on your court cases, for instance, are just me giving you a bit of tit for tat where you give us crap. But in all sincerity, I don't care. Do whatever you do. I've no interest in making you look bad, personally. It just doesn't serve me any interest, and I don't pour any thought into it beyond doing it reactively. Oh, look what this person's done to you. I can't think of anything specifically I should have used a different example. Maybe I should have used Toon instead of Craig. I can't think of anything off the top of my head with Craig. Maybe Toon would have been a better example. But my point is that I don't have any disdain for them beyond the subject debate. I couldn't care less. Whereas they hate us, right? Because they're losing sleep over the subject matter and they're lost in it. So they hate us. They project their hatred towards losing in the subject onto us personally. We don't have to deal with that. That is horrible. I mean, I don't envy you ballers for that. In some ways, as much as I maybe shouldn't admit to it, I do have a certain amount of empathy for your plight in that regard. It can't be fun. I shouldn't try not to laugh either. I'll try and do it with a straight face because I mean it sincerely. It can't be fun, having a hatred towards me because I point out Earth's measured flat. Hate the game, don't hate the player. The game is pointing out that Earth's measured flat by everyone. Me being the person delivering that message just shouldn't generate the hatred and disdain that you have for another human being. But it does, and, to be perfectly honest, I feel sorry for you that you feel that way. It's obviously a shame that it's directed towards me. It'd be better if I could look on the outside in that regard. I can't, but still, I kind of can because I have a feeling of indifference towards our bull-believing brethren. I'm just literally describing currently as being our brothers because they measure Earth flat thousands of times. But after the discussion ends, I don't care. Believe whatever you like. You want to believe you're on a ball? Fine. You want to use the flat Earth measurements to utilise a prerequisite flat Earth to believe you're on a ball? Fine. Do what you like. I don't care. But literally, because I don't care, I don't lose sleep, but that means I've got to be poor. That's the sacrifice. That's the trade-off. You guys, you'll get the algorithmic love, regardless of how crap you are or what you do, or how much effort or how little effort you put in, you'll still get the algorithmic love. So that means you'll, to a certain extent in this tiny little pond, get the financial benefits. But you also get to lose the sleep. And I know which I'd pick. I picked before Flat Earth. Yeah, I'd wanted the humble life to experience my kids growing up. Those things were choices that I'd made before getting here to Flat Earth. Like, I want to find a woman to fall in love with and raise children with, and I want to experience that. Now, making those decisions whilst making loads of money, it's just peacocking. It's like, I wanted to find my beautiful wife, so I've got to have a nice sharp suit, crisp white shirt, beautiful cufflinks, an expensive watch, handmade Italian leather shoes, and a posh, fast sports car. Then you'll get a nice woman, because you look attractive when you're in your 20s and 30s, as is the case for me, driving Lamborghinis on track days. But once you've achieved those things, do you need the peacocking lamb? No, I don't know. But what do I want? Oh, I want to watch my kids grow up. It's the thing I watch most people moan about when I'm surrounded by the elderly, because they're looking after their grandkids at the groups that I take my kids to, or past tense used to when they're a bit younger. And I used to hear the biddies going, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids. They're all grown up now, and here's their grandkids, and they're out doing their work. And they're like, well, you haven't taught them to not go by your mistakes, have you? Because they're out at work and you're looking after them. And here I am with mine, right? Homeschooling them, because being poor and homeschooling is a better trade-off. But I mean, if I was homeschooling and a Glober, I'd probably be all right. I might have even got my Lamborghini. I doubt it. But you know what I mean? But that's the trade-off. I'd rather be content, sleeping well and enjoying my kids grow up, and never have that, oh, I can't believe they grew up so quickly and I didn't experience it in as much detail as I'd have hoped. And now it's gone. Like, no, I'll never have that regret. Loads of people around me do. And when I say it, sometimes people get pissed at me. They're like, don't say it like that, because I actually feel the same. I missed out on my kids growing up. I'm like, well, maybe I should have been a baller and a home ed proponent at the same time. Again, even as I say it, I think, nah, I'd be getting chastised by the normie ballers. None of them are going to be into homeschool, or I'd be very surprised. Just ends up being a wacky trait of, lefties, and I don't know. It's just one of those things that you don't expect a normie to do.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
Take a look at Master B real quick.
Why? Is it spherical? It's what spherical?
This is what you get now.
Who's it from? Karen B. Oh, right. So, yeah, very shilly. Even in the question she's asking, is it spherical? Ugh, I don't want to cover this. We covered it yesterday. No offense, Neil. But you're making your
don't
point.
put it there. And I just found the title interesting. I mean, maybe 10 years ago, you look at that, because we're still all just new to it, searching it out. After 10 years, this is what you're coming up with? Very shilly.
Very shilly. Yeah, keep the argument. is the Earth a ball if you're a flat earther?
Did we do the video on gyro compasses?
No, and we're supposed to.
Do you
So
want
let
to
me
dig out
put.
yeah,
Can
we'll
you
do
put
that
your,
if you want to dig out the link. Who's it by?
I gotta find it again.
Who's it by? Have we covered it already? I thought we did cover Dave
No,
McKeegan
I
covering
forget.
gyro compasses.
I think it was McKeegan.
Then yes, I think we did cover it. We may have covered this already, but if you pop it in Master B, I'll have a look. Oh, thank you very much. No, it's not Dave McKeegan. It's math something or other. Okay.
No, we never covered this one.
Yeah, we can do this today. No problem. Why is my preview showing a different page? Oh, I see. So who's this by? This is by Math Easy Solutions. Okay. Let's grab his channel name and I'll stick it in the title of today's show.
Yippee!
Why do you want to cover this? What's in it? Is there something specific in it?
It just popped up.
Have you watched it?
Not yet. We're going in blind.
Well, how do you know it's any good? You don't. Oh, fine. We'll watch it completely. I mean, might be able to. I'll keep my moans, Eli.
Sorry, I'm ordering some Wendy's breakfast.
Yeah.
First of all, every video that's posted, a lot of people never watched them. And we do it together. Stop making a big deal about it. Let's go through this nonsense.
Whatever. Friday, I don't even want to go through a video. Not if we don't have to. If you've not even watched it and you've got like a compelling point that needs to be addressed in it, it's Friday. I'd rather just chit chat with you. Unless you don't want to talk to us, Eli.
Compass. Come on.
Have you not been out?
Cover it.
Have you not been out and about today?
No.
Not today, generally.
I'm out and about.
I'd rather hear about your journeys into flat Earth and what you're doing and stuff. We'll have a quick listen. Let's have a listen before we
debunking flat Earth.
Holy crap,
and
that's loud.
the first video I'm going to go over is gyro compass aligns with Earth's rotation.
What? Gyro compass aligns with Earth rotation. Okay. Compasses are giving you flat Earth directions. That's what compass is. If it's a gyro, gyros remain rigid in space. If you're going to describe Earth in heliocentric rotation terms, you're describing it with planar reference frames. What the hell is this guy babbling about? Straight out the gate. What?
And the reason I'm doing this series is
The
because
reason you're doing what? Defying what gyros do?
we get a lot of messages either claiming flat Earth or
Yeah, that's what north, south, east and west are. They're directions on a flat Earth.
asking me about it. And
Why would they ask you? Who the hell are you?
I've seen a lot of misinformation, so might as well.
So misinformation. When we go live, we'll see if this guy in any way, shape or form debunks what I've just said, right? We're talking about compasses. There's north, there's south, there's east, there's west. Okay? Is that in any way anything other than planar? There's nothing to discuss here. We're talking about directions. Okay? It's pretty basic stuff if you ever used a compass. I mean, what the hell are we doing here?
How are you?
I'm all right. Very good. How are you? I'm good. I'm feeling good. Oh, well, I'm pleased to hear it, Neil. Jolly good. Good start to the show. Nice that we're getting responses when we need them, when we first start live.
Well, I asked you, how are you?
I'm very
I'm
well,
fine.
Neil. I'm very well. I'm very good indeed. I've spent a week with this here Rode Procaster. I've bought a couple of these, so if I do a podcast in the future with my daughter, I've got a couple of dynamic mics to use and do them with. So you may see this mic in the future, you may not, but I've spent a week using it, so I know how to use it. So I'm familiar with it when I come to set it up, if I set it up in the future. Now that I'm rounding down the amount of mics I sell and the book's getting ever closer, I'm just looking to buy things that I want to keep, and this is one of them. So I've bought pop filters, I've bought shock mounts, and I've bought 2 boom arms so that I can actually set them up from underneath rather than over the top like this arm is. Pain in the ass that it is, blocking my view of my monitor. But when it is seen again, if it is seen again, it'll be on the end of a floor stand mounted microphone boom arm for my daughter and I, both with identical setups. So there you go, that's when it might come up in the future, but after a week of use, I'm now actually comfortable using it and confident that I could do a good job with it and make everything sound audible when it gets used again in the future. So there you go. So this will get put away at the end of today's show. You won't see my giant monstrosity of a Rode Procaster with its shock mount after this show, or at least not on Flat Earth Debate, because there's no need for me to use a dynamic mic. This is a fully treated room. I want the shotgun mic so I can be expressive if I'm on camera, as opposed to this thing where I have to say join the show with the link below this camera view because the mic's in the way, because it's a hulking great big thing. I mean, I don't know how people cope with having giant great big dynamic microphones. I get why they do it. They don't want to hear the sound of their room. I mean, that's nonsense, but there we go. That's why people do it. They're told that you can get rid of room acoustic problems by having a mic right on top of you, which isn't true. You can just do that with a condenser mic, just get it closer and turn the gain down, get the signal to noise that we talk about frequently at the moment in terms of our signal being the flat earth measurement signal, and the noise that is this shillery garbage waffle that comes out of the ether spewing crap munching tossers that we have to face, also labelled flat earthers in our beloved arena. So unfortunately, yeah, signal to noise at the moment is getting better. I mean, Neil was in the pre-show moaning that he would like it to be the case that all of the nonsense wafflers and their perceived penetration throughout YouTube was just us and our talk about flat earth being measured flat. And it isn't. But, that was a kind of false impression that's created by like these sleepers that are ready to come out and say Earth's a ball at any moment and, cast down any decent arguments that we've been putting forward for the last 10 years. So they're never going to, give the benefit of the algorithmic love to anybody that's not under their control, it would seem. How else would you get people like Big Ball Dave and Jaren and Globebusters to talk about ether spin and how Earth's not a ball constantly rather than how we currently do with Earth measurements and decent arguments that overcome those things that, as I say, have been shot down and braced against for the last 10 straight years.
Yeah, well, don't you remember when you went on this little campaign and going with the front foot forward? It's like we went ahead with it, but it wasn't like you were the Pied Piper.
Yeah, well, we would claim to be liars and all sorts of things, and from our own side, just bizarre. We're talking about science and the scientific method, and the people on our own side are saying these people don't know what science is and are liars. Like, what the hell? We've just spent months learning about this stuff so we can put it into the context of flat earth and educate our audience on how they've been deceived. And then we get our own side telling us, well, now we know why, don't they? They're the same people who say, oh, it's a ball after all, I was wrong. You're like, yeah, the same people that were claiming we were, that's the word, scammers. No, we're not. Yeah? Anybody who's come back to me since then, just leave a comment below. Were you one of the people that departed from Flat Earth Debate because you were told that we were scammers? And then you come back and what we talking about when Jaren's telling you Earth's a ball? About how it's measured flat in Antarctica by him. And every person that was down there measuring it. Shocking, isn't it? Yeah, you might have been told that we were scammers. We're not. But that's what people who are going to scam you project onto anybody who's trying to sway you off the scammer. In other words, if you have a loved one pointing out that you're getting scammed by a scammer, what do you think the scammer says? Nah, your family don't love you. They're the ones trying to con you. That's what you get told by the scammer. And in this case, that was Jaren telling his audience that we were scammers. Why? Well, because we're putting good flat earth arguments forward. And he's primed to come out and tell you all it's a bull because he's been to Antarctica and measured Earth flat for 24 hours. What the hell? Yeah, there's a good reason he braced against every single decent argument we ever tried to put to him and get him to understand. And in some cases, even after he braced against some of the arguments like the Black Swan, he still used them when he wanted to condemn somebody like Brenda. Anyway, that's what shills do.
But don't you understand, Nathan? Earth's just like a Home Depot.
Earth is like Home Depot. Yeah, that's Jaron's way of saying, yeah, he knows Earth's measured flat, by the way. Home Depot, as much as we take the piss out of it. That's Jaron saying, yeah, it's a big ball. What's that mean? It means we measure Earth flat. Like you'd measure a flat Home Depot? Yeah, that's because we measure Earth flat. Jaron knows Earth's measured flat. Like you'd measure a Home Depot flat. But we just don't understand really big balls. That was his departure while he was still a flat Earth. That was his rhetoric. While he was still a flat Earther, sorry. That was Jaron's rhetoric. His outgoing flat Earther rhetoric. You're like, what? Seriously? Home Depot? Big square flat Earth sections being measured? It's just big flat sections of Earth being measured. Yeah. So if it was ever the case that Jaron and I were crossing paths in the future, having moved back onto the ball, I'd say, you know Earth's measured flat too, don't you? Right? Earth's like a Home Depot. That's just his way of saying Earth's measured flat. That's all that is. Because it is. Measured flat, that is. Earth,
Locally.
that is. Like a Home Depot, that is. Dead? Was that Eli?
No, it was me, sorry. I said locally.
But locally is everywhere, ever, if you're measuring it. You can only measure locally. Now, locally might be 5,400 miles, nautical miles, right? Well, yeah, it could be if you're measuring GP distances. Yeah, from you to the other side of that circle is massive. Okay, well, that means your local 5,400 miles is flat, if you want to call it that. But that's just there.
Just ask Simon
Get out of
Dan.
jail, incoherent, get out of jail free card. Oh, it's just locally flat. What, the measurements of Earth? Yeah, I know. Yeah, Earth's measured flat. Locally. Everywhere, always. Measured flat. And that's how Earth's measured. Yes. What's that? It's just local. It's fine to measure Earth flat. It's a really big ball. You can believe that if you want. But I'll just take the first bit. Earth is measured flat. By everyone, always, without exception. Now, you, the incoherent idiot boltards, you can tell yourself that because it's measured flat, that means it's a really, really big ball. Okay. You can also tell us we don't understand how, when measuring Earth flat, that actually means it's a really big ball. You can tell us that if you want. I won't be listening anymore. Yeah, I don't care. Because Earth's measured flat. We figured that out quite some time ago. Everyone measures it that way.
That's all you say, Nathan. That's all you've got, mate. This measurement thing. I mean, have you got nothing else to go the proof? I was just sick of hearing it, mate.
Do you want a little magic trick to go with it? Do you want maybe a little card trick? I've heard that too. People say, that's all Nathan says. He just says Earth's measured flat. Okay, so would you prefer I said, Earth is, maybe change the tone, Earth is measured flat. Now a card trick. What more do you want? Yeah, you couldn't get any more conclusive. Is it flat? Well, that's how we're measuring it. Well, maybe it isn't. Well, none of the measurements work then. Yeah, it's called the rock and hard place. Either you accept that Earth is measured flat, because it is, or you deny that you've got any Earth measurements, because Earth's measured flat. But that's all I've got. That's all I need. It's simultaneous to the reason I'm telling you, get lost. I don't care what you think anymore. Yeah? Well, Earth's like a Home Depot because it's a really big ball. Let's break that down. Earth's like a Home Depot. What does that mean? Earth's measured flat. Yeah, it is. Yeah. What's that? Locally. Okay, yeah. Locally, Earth's measured flat. Yeah. What's that? There's negligible ball curvature over the locally flat measured bit of Earth. I mean, I don't know why you're talking about curve. We're measuring it flat, but fine. If you say there's negligible curvature when we're measuring it flat, then I don't really know why we would be talking about anything negligibly not being measured, but you be you. What's that? Oh, I don't understand that when we measure Earth flat, it's because that negligible curvature isn't being considered, but on bigger scales that we don't measure, it's measured ball-shaped. No, it isn't. We've got Earth curve mathematics that also measure Earth flat at surface level. So no, there aren't any big ball measurements. There's just the flat ones. All of them. So is that all I've got? Oh, my bad. And now I'll pull something out of my sleeve. What more do you need? You need more than me telling you how it's measured. Nah. What it needs is us, that's flat earthers, perceived, and you, that's ball-tards, otherwise known as anti-flat earthers, to argue about how Earth might or might not be ball-shaped, like negligible curvature over the flat Earth bit that we measure, but while we both simultaneously accept that Earth is measured flat. So you'll say, well, Earth's measured flat at surface level for me to create a distance to a geometric horizon that blocks boat and building at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's measured height of a flat Earth. So that we're understanding that our globe Earth maths, contextually me being a ball-tard in this example, so long as we accept that there is a surface level to measure for these claims of Earth's sphericity, you just need to accept that Earth gets measured flat also, but then tell me that they don't match how far we'd see based on an extrapolation after a flat Earth measurement that says that we'll see this far to the boats and buildings that get blocked. You need now tell me as a flat Earther that no, we see too far. As long as we both accept that Earth gets measured flat in the first place, then we can whistle past the facts that Earth's measured flat. But when I point out that, oh, well, Earth's measured flat, who cares? What I get from the ball-tide side is, well, is that all you got? Surely you need to measure Earth flat, turn those flat Earth measurements into a ball, create a distance to a geometric horizon to block boats and buildings, and then tell me how it's too far so I can tell you it isn't. Because that would be a lot more substantive than you just saying, well, Earth's what it is. It's measured flat. Therefore, it's measured flat. There's no real contention. Oh, you don't like that. You don't want it to be flat. The Earth, that is. Well, what are you going to use as measurements? Oh, you're still happy to use the flat ones? Well, then Earth's measured flat. I mean, that is all I've got. You're right. You know, I mean, maybe if you don't like it, you could do what Simon Dan did and say, Nathan's wrong. So what I'll do to show how wrong Nathan is about Earth being flat is measure it 1,000 plus times with surface level being a requirement for the measurement. Now that is the kind of flat Earth measurement that you can really get behind when you want to believe that you're on a ball. Maybe you can claim that that's part of the ball measurements. The flat Earth prerequisite surface level part of your elevation angle measurement that you measured off a flat Earth, you can say that makes your ball. If you're insane, we're not, we know it's measured flat, but apparently that's all we got. I mean, I'm really sorry. If you're disappointed in Earth just being measured flat, and then I'm sorry, I mean, I will work on my magic act that follows it, you know, because it's a bit drab, innit? You know, I'm on stage. Hi, Nathan Oakley. Yes, thank you. No, the applause can wait. Yes, it's okay. It's all good. Thank you. Stop. No more applause. Thank you. Earth's measured flat. Right, well, I'm out of here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What? You want more? What? Well, I mean, I have worked on pulling this rabbit out of this here hat. I mean, I've got that. I mean, if you want to pick a card. Meanwhile, Earth's still measured flat. Oh, what? You don't like that bit of the act? You want to tell me that it's not flat? Oh, right. Maybe you could go measure Earth flat 1,000 times to prove me wrong. Yeah? Well done, Dan. Yeah, your flat Earth measurements of the sun 1,000 times really showed me how little I've got when you measured Earth flat too. I mean, that's not really good enough. I mean, surely I should be taking those 1,000 flat Earth measurements and suggesting we've derived sphericity from them. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take the flat Earth measurements that we measured. I'm good with those, right? Yeah, because then it's just measured flat. You don't want them to be measurements. You don't want them to be angles anymore, like part of the angle being the surface level. That's prerequisite part of the elevation angle that Dan measured 1,000 times. You don't want them to be elevation off the surface and that. Okay, well, then you've got no measurements. Oh, you like them, the flat Earth measurements. Yeah, that's okay. You can use them. Dan, that is. The ball-believing Simon Dan. He can use those flat Earth measurements. He's got my permission. But you, the flatties, don't think it's enough. Then you're stupid. Is that not clear? My sarcasm can end now. I'll just get to the punchline. You're thick. If you don't understand that Earth being measured flat is all you'll ever need to absolutely bitch slap the living daylights out of any clown that says otherwise. And when those retards, this is Simon Dan, say that Nathan's wrong, they'll prove me right 1,000 times over with their own measurements. That's what they'll do with the Earth being measured flat rhetoric. It means that my opponents are literally beating themselves in the face thousands of times over. Yeah, this is Dan. This is the actual reality, no sarcasm. Dan's measuring Earth flat thousands of times. TFE is measuring Earth flat. That's what we've got. What's our response to TFE? You measured Earth flat. What was their response when we told them that? Where are the guns, Nathan? That was literally the response to them having the fact that they're measuring Earth flat pointed out to them. So if that's not enough, maybe I should have picked up that red herring and deflected to the guns. No need. The Chilean government escorted a man away at gunpoint 6 months after they were there measuring Earth flat. But they still measure Earth flat. Again, Neil, was it Neil? It wasn't. It was Sensual, wasn't it? Yeah, hearing this is amusing to me. Not enough. What else do you need? Answers on a postcard. I'll file them in R for Arrivederci.
It was one deck.
Yeah, it was me, Nathan, but it's very telling, isn't it? Because, this is what they're saying now. Nathan is only talking about the measurements of flat Earth. And that, to me, is very telling that they are realising that, like you say, there is no debate anymore. We're not talking about any nonsense. It's all come down to the actual measurements, and that's all we're talking about, how Earth is measured flat. And they're like, oh, Nathan's not talking about anything else anymore. You know, what we're going to do? We're just talking about the actual measurements measured flat. So, very telling.
Yeah, people don't want a conclusion. That group of people, as I say, has been created out of complete numbskulls. I mean, generally speaking, I'm sorry, you're not going to like this. I'm probably going to lose subscribers over it. I despise your average flat earther. I think most flat earthers are complete retards because they present themselves as such. Karen B was on our show yesterday. She presents herself as a complete and utter retard. She believes in Bigfoot. She's a shit-for-brains retard. There's no other way to describe her. That's what she is. Now, most flat earthers are that because they've been brought into the fold through YouTube algorithmic enablement. That's how they've got here. Now, I can't deny it. I found myself on the same idiotic conspiratard path when I found my way to Math Powerland. We discussed him in the pre-show. How wonderful he is too. But I was here looking at conspiracy subjects like subliminal messaging and psychopathy, narcissism. And then you find your way to Flat Earth. Now, potentially, I could have been just another conspiratard idiot on that path, waiting to be shown demonstrably to be idiotic, just like Karen. But I'm not that person. My vague interest in these conspiracy subjects may have led me to the fact that Earth is measured flat, but I haven't represented myself as your average flat earther, the people I generally despise. The people I've braced against ever since I've got here, starting with Jesse Spots 10 years ago, talking about clone centres and Mandela effect. Immediately irritated me for being a charlatan bullshitter like most flat earthers. Now here we are 10 years later saying, Earth's measured flat. It was never very complicated. Now there's going to be this group of people in this pond, including but not limited to Simon, Dan, Craig, all of you people. You're all in the same pond with us. This group that's presented as being flat earthers. You're part of the same group, the Dans and the Craigs, yeah? Now that group is completely separate from normie society, yeah? They're something else. Now eventually, they will go, we, collectively, the general populace, knew it was flat all along. And when they do, the ring that it comes with will be a ring of Earth is measured flat. Because oftentimes the most simple explanation for things is what permeates the masses. It's not the complicated arguments about reference frames. It's not the complicated arguments about bullshit beliefs in ether. It's not the complicated arguments about the stars, which have nothing to do with the surface, unless, of course, you're measuring the surface level with them, as we've navigated and charted the world. Flat. So it boils down to how simplistically the general population can accept this as having been the case all along. And what do you know? It's not that I need the general populace to accept this belief as having been the case all along. It is the case. And it was always being measured flat by everyone, always. I recognised this a couple of years ago when I explained celestial navigation to my sister, forgetting a large chunk of my life where a loved one died, subsequently getting blocked out of my life, my sister's husband. Now, he and her owned boats and had to train in celestial navigation. So I'm preaching to the converted, my sister, about how it's a flat earth proof. And she already knew. Like anybody who's measured earth ever, she knew it was measured flat. So at that point, you recognise the simplistic, awful truth of what people like my sister, a normie, recognise when they deal with earth. There's no complicated transition into a new belief, unlike the attempted transition from reality to a heliocentric worldview, which has taken place over the last 300 years. It's a short-lived religion. People don't recognise how short-lived heliocentrism will have been, past future tense, when everybody in the normie society surrounding us in this tiny little pond start saying things like, of course it was flat. That's how it's measured. Yeah? You might be the Dan, Craig, or, if he was still a flatty, Jaron, in this pond, trying to make it complicated. But it's failed. The world has and will always be measured flat. That won't have any alterations in the mind's eye of any normal people listening to this. Now, it might be someone else that gives them the message. It might not be me. It might be Dan telling 1,000 people to go out and measure surface level for an angle. But who cares what they do? It's never going to change. The truth will out. But heliocentrism and its control purposes are here for now. Short-lived though they will be in the future. But they won't be here forever. Why? Because you can't hide the truth when it comes to measurements. The truth is we measure Earth flat and always have. So it might not be enough if you're in the pond. That's the point here. But to every other normal member of the Flat Earth Measuring Society, they will be capable of accepting this as though it was always true, because it was always true, in spite of their heliocentric religion, which hasn't been around for very long.
Yep, like you say, it was the Greeks knew that 2,000 years ago. That's their example of measuring Earth flat. Al-Biruni measured the Earth flat, and even in the so-called Earth curve calculator, it shows and describes how Earth is measured flat using eye level and surface level parallel to each other, and obtaining a depression angle between them 2 points. There's never any evidence or suggestion of curvature within the curvature position.
All you do is talk about Earth being measured flat one day. All you do.
Well, we can ask the question: is it spherical?
The gyroscope would tell us.
Yes, there's been a potential suggestion of discussion or debate about what gyros do. Now, again, we've gone through these processes many times. The cycle gets shorter and shorter each time. The actual use of gyroscopic motion is to retain horizontal planes of reference in avionics. That's what it's used for. Now, from this point forward, I've said it on many of the shows, I couldn't give a crap what you dig out from people. That's to say, when people say, no, actually, gyroscopes are self-correcting, Earth's spherical, I'll go, really? Because that's not what they're being used for, and that's not what they're measuring. Now, I've made this laboured point quite a few times on recent shows, but as far as anybody in avionics is concerned, they just want to avoid death. Yeah? There's no two ways about what a gyro does and how it's being used. Now, if you want to tell me in the text that what's measured in the measurements isn't what's really measured, then, without labouring the point, you can take it up with the people who use the measurements, not me. Now, they're not going to respond. They don't care. They're just going to use the measurements. And the measurements are flat. And how they're acquired is with useful tools in avionics to retain horizontal planes of reference. These detailed mathematical acquisitions are required to fly in straight and level flight. And nothing needs to be altered when you look at the flat Earth affirming avionic data. Every part of what they describe to fly in straight and level flight is axiomatically tied to a flat Earth. There's no getting away from this stuff. There's just verbiage from idiots who want their sphere belief to somehow comport with Earth being measured flat. And it never will. All you'll ever have is words. But the measurements, they're in. Earth's measured flat. In every single measurement ever. But you can feel free. You can believe that we've self-corrected out the curve that isn't being measured in the measurements. You can believe that all you like. I don't care what you believe. And if it's based on something you've read, oh, right, it's from the NTSB. The NTSB say gyros self-correct from curvature. Oh, really? Is that what they say? Really? That kind of defies the axiomatic principle of the gyroscope and its measurements here with respect to the horizontal that it's retaining. That's what it's used for. What's that you say? No, they drift. They do if they're broken.
It's not what it shows in the pitch data.
Yeah, it's not what it shows when they're measuring Earth. But like I say, I don't care. I'll just laugh at them now. Because they think that there's a debate continuing. I don't care anymore. You can come and start telling me, I'll probably agree with you. You want me to believe that I don't understand how it's been corrected. Okay. Yeah. Give me your words.
Nathan.
They did it with, sorry, Brian.
Come on, Dick, I'll go after you.
Sorry, quicker. They did exactly the same thing and still do with celestial navigation and elevation angles. You know, they used to say, but it only works on a globe. You know, they just come out with this nonsense. It can only work on a globe. Well, the tool that we're using is actually designed to measure elevation angles. That's what it's designed to do. How does it work on a globe?
More accurately,
it's designed to measure elevation angles.
More accurately, it can't work on a globe. I remember Rumpus saying that 7 years ago. Sextants only work on a globe, end quote the Rumpus. Actually, no, they can't work on a globe. They're acquiring elevation angles off surface level. So no. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, there's a massive contradiction, you see. This is what happens. The ballers always come at us with supposed arguments, but they're always in a vacuum. As I said before, they focus on 6 and forget about 7 and 8. When it comes to the pendulous vanes, which are part of the back of a gyro system that's powered through the movement of air and vacuum, when it comes to them, they try to claim that they're correcting for curls, right? This is what they're trying to claim. When it comes to the mercury switches, right, which is the gyro that's spun not by air, movement of air, but spun electrically, they're trying to claim that it's correcting away from curls to horizontal. So they're two opposing, 180 degrees opposing planes. One is supposed to be correcting for curls, the other one is correcting away from curl to horizontal. This is what, do you understand what I mean? This is how ridiculous it is. Like they're not even paying attention to their previous claims. So one is proving the curve, the other one is taking it away from the curve. Yet the two systems are there for the exact same reason in aviation, just on two different gyro power systems. And one gyro is spun with air, the other one is spun electrically.
That's a good way of putting it.
This is what they've got to do. This is what they've got to do. Just make things up. Make things up. You just say words out your mouth. That when
no. That's not what he's saying. He's not saying they just make stuff up. He's saying that he takes a position that has a correction in it. Let's say it's the mercury switches. So you over-exceed the mechanics of the gyro. It trips the mercury switch and then kicks in this system that corrects the gyro after the fact, right? As opposed to pendulous vanes that do it in real time. But ultimately speaking, these are corrective systems that work if you're in a maneuver that pushes the avionics beyond their limitations, therefore correction. They will take one example. Brian's saying, use this word, this wording, in a vacuum. What he means by that is, in isolation, you can describe how a system works on its own, alone, away from everything that it does, and say that there's a correction, and then say that that correction's because of Earth curve. But it's completely isolated from everything in terms of the base principle of what a gyro does, how Earth's being measured, what it's principally got to do, how the mechanics has got to be exceeded for it to kick in. All of this stuff gets ignored. It just gets argued, as Brian nicely put it, in a vacuum.
Yeah, but it's worse than that, because when it comes to the pendulous vanes, their argument in the vacuum is that the pendulous vanes are correcting the zero on the attitude indicator to follow the curve, right? Making it a series of straight lines that are changing orientation, right, around a circle, basically, right? When it comes to the mercury switches system, they're claiming it's correcting away from curve. Both systems do the same thing, right? They're both correcting to horizontal. But in one instance, they're claiming with the pendulous vanes, they're claiming that system corrects for curve. The other system, they're claiming it corrects away from curve, back to horizontal. Do you understand what I mean? So when they're claiming that the pitch data is not raw data, because of the mercury, when it comes to data from a plane that has the mercury switches system, what they're claiming there is it's not showing you the curve, it's showing you horizontal because it's corrected away from curve. But then they'll turn around in the next breath and start telling you the pendulous vane system is correcting for curve, when both the pendulous vane system and the mercury switch system are designed for the exact same reason and to have the exact same outcome, which is horizontal. They're just two different systems. One system is powered through the movement of air and vacuum. That's what spins the gyro. The other system, it's electrically spun. It's like the electricity, it's directly electrically spun. I think it's a DC current or whatever. The point being is that they're arguing on one side of the fence for curve being accounted for and corrected to by one system, and the other side of the fence that it's correcting away from curve to show you a straight line in the pitch data. Do you understand what I mean? Yet both systems do the exact same thing. So their arguments are 180 degrees opposed from each other. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, well, speaking of being 180 degrees opposed, they also both require to deviate from and back to a horizontal plane of reference. In other words, they also whistle past the axiomatic requirement for a surface level plane of reference to deviate from and correct to.
Yeah, because with the pendulous vanes, they're trying to claim that because they're weighted, it's a weighted system as well. Right? It's true. The movement of air vacuum in a weight. So they're claiming that because it's a weighted system, that this weight is like pointed towards the center of the globe, and as the plane flies, it changes because of a force of gravity, which doesn't exist. This will change the let's just say the apparent direction of down. Right, this is what they're trying to claim to hold it towards the center of the globe. But then when it comes to the mercury switches system, they're saying that the pitch data shows a straight line because the mercury switch system corrects away from the curve. Now, they're both pendulous vanes and the mercury switches system are both attaining and holding horizontal.
Exactly.
Right? But one horizontal is claimed to be the curve, right? And the other horizontal is claimed to be horizontal. Yet both systems are doing the exact same thing. They're taking an argument on one side of the fence and claiming one thing, and taking an argument, basically talking about the same exact thing, just a different system, on the other side of the fence and claiming completely different.
Well, that's the crux of it then, isn't it, Brian? It's designed to maintain horizontal. Simple as that.
Yeah, all I'm pointing out is what they do. They forget about their previous argument. They're completely forgetting about their previous argument.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm not saying you, mate. Yeah. I'm just trying to get it down to the bare knuckles of it. The thing is like, it's designed to remain rigid in space and maintain horizontal. What's that got to do with? Sorry.
Well, that's why I wanted to interject. You saved it by that first statement. It's not designed to maintain horizontal. You set it up to demonstrate the horizontal. But gyroscopes work by holding their position in free space. That may or may not be horizontal once you've set it up. This is the point. Yeah? This is the mitigation that they'll try and bullshit you into. And subterfuge about how a gyro works. A gyro works by maintaining its position, however that's set up. Whether that happens to be horizontal, which would make sense if you're wanting to use it to define it, but the fundamental principles of a gyro is it maintains its position, whatever position that is.
Right, with you.
Yes, in other words, you've got to deny the axiomatic principle that's being taken from or utilised by way of the gyroscope itself. That's what it's utilised for. But in principle, to have this argument, Adam's saying, no, let's just stop a second. Let's not deny what gyros do. Right, Adam?
Yeah, you said it best. Look at what its axiomatic principle of a gyro is. Whether you're going to then use it to define horizontal, that's a secondary point. What do gyros do? Don't let them mug you off, because what they're going to try and do is mug you off and pretend that gyros don't hold the position in free space. They're affected by gravity.
Yes. Just exactly. I'm going to go on camera to say this. This is why they need Bob. Why was Bob being thanked repeatedly and profusely ad nausea? Because gyros don't do what Bob is alleging them to do in his claim to be evidence of a drifting gyro. They don't do that. That's not what they're being used for. Axiomatically, it denies the principle of gyroscopic action. So no, but if you're going to cite somebody to suggest that you've got self-correcting gyros because they drift because of Earth's alleged curvature, then you're not going to find anybody who's going to tie their string to that, metaphorically speaking. Why would they? Especially if they're investigating death. They're going to know how gyros work. So you're going to need a patsy. You need somebody that does say that gyros drift. Yeah, that's Bob. So the tables have turned and our opponents now need to appeal to Bob Nodell to suggest that gyros defy their own axiomatic action. No, they don't do what Bob is alleging and drifting bullshit. But they'll be appealing to Bob moving forward. We've already had it start to happen. So suddenly we go from them saying, well, we know it's a globe, we checked, to we going, no, actually, when we checked what you thought you checked, it was measured flat. And now you need to allege that you've got proof in the form of Bob Nodell. That's your citation now. You're going to appeal to Bob. So the tables have very much turned. No, it's flat, we checked. And thanks, Bob, you've got curve and drift. Okay.
No, Nathan. That is not right. The Bob thing is a red herring, because mechanical gyros can have mechanical drift called precession. That can happen, right? Bob was talking about a gyro that's using Lite, so there's no mechanical, and doesn't matter what Bob was talking about because they're not using attitude indicators. Now, we could take Bob's gyro and go through them. I could take it apart, no bother, and I have done in the past. I actually even made a video about it, where I gave Bob thanks myself because he proved the opposite of what they needed him to prove. Long story short, is that we're talking about attitude indicators. We're talking about the data for pitch. That has nothing to do with what Bob is talking about. So them bringing up Bob is a red herring, complete red herring. We're talking about mechanical gyro and the systems that are used to power them and correct them. There's two systems. One involves the pendulous vanes, right, for the vacuum system. The other one involves mercury switches for the electric system.
Yeah, I get
That's
it.
what we're talking about. So anything to do with Bob is not to do with the situation.
Okay, fine. Yes, I understand that. We've just covered that. Yeah, but that isn't what I'm suggesting. When they have used Bob recently, and incorrectly so. I mean, the axis that Bob's alleging the 15 degrees an hour drift in his faulty gyro isn't the drift that they'd need to claim that you're traversing a spherical surface with the curvature falling away from the drift that they'd need to demonstrate in the gyro on a different axis. So it can't be appealed to that for that purpose anyway. It's incorrect to do it. It's a complete red herring. You are correct. And it's not that I don't understand that, or that we're discussing pendulous vanes and the mercury switches. I understand that too. But they'll throw everything at the wall and have. That's why I'm throwing it in now, in terms of us giving a nice, complete response, because people will come up against Bob being thrown into the mix and cited, because they need to allege a defiance of the axiomatic principle of what gyros do. So where they're going to reach for, well, they're going to reach for Bob and have.
Yeah, Captain Edgewise and the Almanator guy that are in Discord, that's who they appeal to. Bob Nodell.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
I realise. I understand that. And the axis of drift, that if it is even true, it isn't. But if Bob's drift axis was true, that isn't what you'd be proving a spherical Earth with in the gyroscopic action that doesn't move, that remains fixed in free space when planes traverse a flat surface and remain in level flight. That, you know, you're not getting the completely different axis to Bob's axis when they appeal to it. It wouldn't, it'd never be appealable in that regard. So I get that, Brian.
Yeah,
And it
but
isn't mercury
the,
switches or pendulous veins either, which is what you were saying. It's not what we're talking about currently. Well, it is, because they're throwing that in too.
No, because the problem is that what Bob was talking about, for a start, was fiber optic gyro. It was a fiber optic gyro, a 41 that he has used, or someone has used, and they don't use them in airplanes. They use them in gyro compasses on ships and stuff. They use ring laser gyros in airplanes. Now, if you want to talk about those, they are used in the inertial navigation system. There's three of them. For one, holds horizontal, the other one holds yaw, and the other one holds one is for pitch, roll, and yaw. There's three of them, and they're creating an inertial reference frame for three accelerometers. Right. So, if we're going to talk about light gyros, let's just say, or optical gyros, as they're called, then we're talking about airplanes, then we have to talk about the inertial navigation system, which completely annihilates them. But that's a secondary thing. What we're actually talking about is the attitude indicator and mechanical gyros. So then trying to go to that is, in my opinion, a desperation. Because even what Bob was talking about was he was talking about a drift. That has nothing to do with pitch. So they're going from arguing about pitch and the data to talking about the drift, and gone from mechanical gyros to a light gyro, and gone from in the air to being on the air.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So now we're all on the same page. Yes, exactly. They're throwing everything at the wall. To what? Defy what a gyro does? We know what gyro does. That's how it's being used. Oh, you don't like that? Oh, well. Then you haven't got any measurements from the gyro. Oh, it's self-correcting because someone said so. No, that's not what gyros do. You have to like it. What? But Bob showed that it does do that. Oh, did he? So you're appealing to Bob? All very amusing. Scared, Adam? Oh, he just dropped. Obviously got things to do, I guess. So, where's Eli? I was going to ask him about what hold on, let's just see if Adam's got something to add. Adam, did you want to add something? Were you trying to...
Yeah, sorry, it was robot.
That's all right.
Terrible.
You dropped instead of
dropped.
unmuted, I assume.
Can you hear me?
Yes, scared.
Just a point of what going off there, which is kind of how Bob got it through customs, as you were, how he to the community early on. And I was describing it to you the other day, the mitigation he bothered to spend time with me saying why this was significant. But again, you see, it's to deny the principles of a gyroscope. But what Bob wasn't trying to claim that this showed Earth rotation. Yeah. He was trying to claim this showed the rotation of the luminiferous ether.
Correct.
He was so on board with it. Why? This is why it kind of got through customs. Because back then you don't have the hindsight to go, oh my God, look what he's actually setting up for the future. We didn't. I think the instigators of it probably did, as we can see by it being used now. But back then, you're just thinking, oh, it's a crazy old man thinking his faulty gyros demonstrating that the ether rotates. And then lots of people got excited by that, didn't they? I remember Mike Kavanagh taking me aside saying, yeah, but the best thing, Ad, is if you go up the mountain, the rate of rotation changes. I'm thinking, wow. The rate that your gyro is out changes as you, yeah? That's the reality of what these guys were working with.
Yeah, it was the ether drift.
Yeah. Well, it's more faulty the higher I go. That's what I was being told, yeah? But that's not what I heard back then. But that's the reality of what was being pimped.
It's more faulty the higher I go.
You get it?
I love how we're looking at these things in retrospect. It's just amusing. At first, I think you picked up on it, actually. There was a day about a week or two ago that I was just so bitter about it all. Like, I feel like I've wasted my time. And you're like, no, it's about the journey. It's about where you've got to because of all this nonsense. You're like, yeah, but now I can see where general member of the public can be potentially in, I don't know, as little as 10 years. And they can just say, yeah, we always knew it was flat. So it's measured, right? So you go, oh, so there's a reason we were chucked in this little pond. But we were in a pond and we never did anything. We never clawed ourselves out. And 10 years later, we can finally claw our way out. I've even given it as a metaphor of falling down a hill. Remember? Meeting anti-flatties at the bottom. Yeah? Well, here we are, 10 years later. Yeah, we can claw out of this hole. Yeah? The rest of the normie society aren't doing anything other than measuring Earth flat, are they?
No, it's all they ever did. You can't measure something that doesn't exist. You're going to measure that which does exist. And that's the thing, you know. There's no globe being measured because there is no globe. If there was, one would be measured.
Yeah. But there we go. It just feels like, you know, oh, it did when I was a bit more bitter. Now Adam's saying things like he is. It seems a lot more amusing because without that experience, I suppose you couldn't come up with quips like that. It's more faulty the higher I go. But you've got to have gone through it, right? You've got to have lived it to be able to put it in those terms.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I admitted there. That's not how I interpreted it the first time. My mind full of curiosity and wanting to learn. Does this mean it? But no. Slow down, and with hindsight, you recognise. And that's stop being mugged off that a faulty gyro tells you something. That's not how they're designed to work. Yeah? If they did, imagine that. The higher you got with your gyro, the more faulty it went. Well, that'll be useful in an aeroplane, won't it? Do you get me? It's to imply that faulty measurements mean you can deduce something is beyond retarded, other than the deduction that your gyro's broke.
Yes, I'm glad you've summarised that because we don't actually often go through why we would so brazenly suggest that it's broken. It's like, well, did you service it? Don't need to. What it's used for defies what it's useful for. What's it being applied to? So I've got a different word. Well, applied to a nonsense waffle about an ether. That's what it's being applied to. Oh, God. I shouldn't have been so bitter a couple of weeks ago, right? I'll get over it. I'm very fickle. But it did. For a little bit, it felt like, what a waste of time. Do you not agree? No one's backing me up.
It's the frustration, isn't it? It's the frustration more than anything. Yeah? I mean, you can only show a horse to water, can't you? You can't actually make them drink. And we've got people here refusing it. Like when you're talking about Karen B yesterday. There's the water, Karen, drink it. And doesn't want it, doesn't want to use it. That's the frustration, like you're banging your head against the wall. But what you alluded to, it's been a righteous journey, bro. Because we had to learn all the hard shit, to do all of their bullshit inside out, upside down, yeah, to only get to the end of the journey, chapters 13 and 14, yeah, which is really towards the end of this, where we were able to stand up proudly and say the Earth is measured flat, first with celestial navigation, yeah, and then secondly with the pitch data. And that nails it for me. That's why it is frustrating. Because after all this time, we're showing people this, and they don't want it. It was the same with the Black Swan. We showed them So before we had fundamental proof that it was flat, we were just demonstrating that it cannot be a ball. Look at your delusions. They didn't want that either, did they, these mainstreamers?
Don't forget the Greeks, Adam. They measured it flat as well, mate.
No, you're right, Adam, but there is a way to get a horse to drink. You got to give him salt. And I feel like this show, everything that we put out, we're giving them salt. They're not getting thirsty.
That. Yeah, that's why I commended Nathan yesterday on it. Yeah, that's a great analogy, Neil. That's the salt they need. Yeah, because it is weird. It's there for you, Karen. Go and prove it to people instead of preaching it and asking them to just believe.
Maybe it's fear that it's just not enough. I mean, if you're concerned that saying Earth's measured flat's just not good enough, then there is no pleasing you.
Yeah, well, I always wanted to make it complicated, right? That's the whole thing. Let's make it as complicated as we can.
I think that's part of the game. What I'm calling the game is people saying, we've got to make this as complicated as possible. Right, how can we do that? Let's move forward, accepting that Earth
It's not
is
that
going
as
to
well.
be
You've got
flat
the
for
journey,
both
like you're
sides.
saying. It's been hustle and bustle, going through lots of different things and conversations about all sorts involved with the heliocentric model. And now the bare knuckles is it's measured flat. So it's a sense of like it's over. No, it's not over, is it? But, you know, it's like, oh, right, what do we all do now?
I like that bare knuckles example. So in
Yeah.
response to people saying, is that all you got? So metaphorically, boxing match, gloves are on, strikes are being thrown left and right, but we're right into round 13. What's going on? World seems weird, right? Nothing's happening. It's just an endless fight that doesn't seem to end. It doesn't end. And then at the end, just before the bell rings, one of the boxers takes off the gloves, punches the other guy in the face, and his face comes apart, and he looks back with a broken face and goes, "Is that all you got? Is that all you got? The measurements are flat." Yeah, that's all I got, yeah. Yeah, you've also got broken face though, haven't you? Yeah, that's all I've got. I love it. It just seems utterly absurd to me. The whole discussion's absurd.
Just for people who may encounter the red herring about Bob's gyro. Optical gyros are used in the inertial navigation system of an aircraft. The purpose of them, there's 3 of them. The purpose of them is to create an inertial plane of reference for the accelerometers. So the accelerometers can correctly record the journey. So why would optical gyros be drifting if they need to create, if they're used for, if optical gyros are drifting, right, something that happens within mechanical gyros. If optical gyros are drifting all over the place, like Bob's gyro, and at different altitude, they're drifting at different rates, right? Then how could they be used in an inertial navigation system to create the inertial plane of reference? It makes no sense. I know it's a ring laser gyros, it's ring laser gyros in an airplane, not fiber optic, but they're using fiber optic and ring laser using the same system, more or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can see the co-pilot being told by the pilot, right, we're now going up to 40,000 feet. Can you just twist the gyro's incorrectness-ometer up a touch as we gain altitude?
If only we had some black box data, pitch data, that would be good.
We have. It's like my favourite flat earth proof. What are you talking about?
But it's stupid, Nathan, because they've tried to state that the reason that it shows a horizontal in the data is because it's corrected away from the curve by the mercury switches. But that would mean then why would the data from a plane with a pendulum space system show the exact same thing then? If that's supposed to correct so-called.
If it was corrected by the mercury switches, why would you have a gyro in the fucking first place? Excuse my French. Yeah, you just have mercury switches.
Yeah,
It's
just have the
nonsense.
switches and the cage.
It's a couple of pendulous vanes, you know, and a hammer hung upside down from the rear view mirror of the pilot's cockpit, because that's what they're claiming is defining the level. Fundamentally, hang a pendulum from the centre of the cockpit and keep referencing that. Well, no. They're stabilising devices. That's all they are.
But who are you saying no to?
The plane...
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying, who are you saying no to? You're saying no to an anti-flat earther in the pond, aren't you? Because in principle, it does what it does. We don't need this discussion, do we, Adam? And I'm not saying it's all well and good, right? We're only having this discussion and exemplifying it between ourselves because we understand how this defies the current rhetoric of a ball, right? That's why we're here. I'm not going to deny our origins. But ultimately, if you were to communicate this with someone in normal society, they're not going to argue with you, and you're not going to have to say, no, it's not doing X, Y, and Z, because no one would expect it to do anything other than what a gyro does in normal society. Right, Adam?
Correct. If you went to the manufacturers, they wouldn't claim it's doing that. They claim exactly what it says on the tin with regards to gyros. It will maintain its position in free space. That's it. And this is how pathetic their argument is. That instead of dealing with the pitch data, they want to argue nonsensically about how gyros work and claim they self-correct to gravity. That's why I say no. No, it's not an argument. Even we used to mention it in the past. You're not having an argument with the flat earther now. You're having the argument with the people who make gyroscopes and define what they do. You're arguing with mainstream again to try and defend your ball position, which is like when you know you've won. When the baller has to go against the mainstream rhetoric to defend a ball, you know you've won.
Yes, and that's what it boils down to in terms of every single assertion of Earth measurement. You're going to have to go against mainstream rhetoric. Now, I'm glad you're here, Adam. It's a phraseology you can only put into words if you've got a ghostwriter.
Yeah, they did the same thing with dip, didn't they? Skip past the angle and let's talk about dip.
Yeah, let's talk about some correction to surface level. You're like, what? Why? Oh, because then we can make it seem like there's an argument to be had about Earth curve that hadn't been measured in these measurements. Well, what are we doing? We're okay, we find dip. What are we doing first? We've got to measure our height off the surface level first. We've got to have an altitude. Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, I was just saying what was funny about the whole dip thing was that when I was pushing the dip thing back some years ago, they didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to talk about the aviation segment, right? Thinking that just created a vertical, not realizing that vertical must be 90 degrees to horizontal. So that is removing the dip, any need for dip, because you're creating an exact horizontal in the air that has to be parallel to mean sea level. So they went from having an issue with dip to the aviation segment, then having an issue with that when it was explained to them, back to dip. Do you know what I mean? They're never happy. They're always trying to go from one thing to another. As I said earlier, they make an argument in a vacuum. And then it opposes a different argument they were making 10 minutes ago. Their arguments never line up. They're always contradicting each other.
Yes. Well, not each other. Well, it depends, because there might be somebody who's less informed on how you need to dodge these subject matters within the anti-flat earth communities. But just defying what things principally do, and what things principally do is not something you have to argue with normal people with. Like I say, I explained this earlier with the example with my sister. I was expecting a bit of a battle. Like, my sister's a normie. She's not into any of this stuff. But when it came to talking about what she trained in to get out on the seas in her boats with her husband, you're like, I didn't get any pushback. She just agreed. You're like, what's going on? In fact, it wasn't quite like that. I was arguing with her current husband, right? So I'm arguing with him, and there's massive pushback until she steps in and is like, no, that is how it's done. You're like, what? So if you've got somebody that's actually dealing with Earth measurement, they're never going to push back against stuff that's obviously, observably, measurably, axiomatically flat. Gyroscopic motion's no different. No normie's going to ever argue with this stuff like an anti-flatty would.
Exactly. Look, I just pulled the video up. Angles on a sphere at work.
But just to point out something, what I've noticed, Nathan, is via Google and the AI systems and all that are used via Google and whatever else, what they're doing is more and more and more, when you ask it a question and they need to come up with some supposed learned video or evidence that, let's just say, that gravity is a force or whatever rubbish like that, right? Whatever lie like that it's trying to promote. What video is turning up? What websites turn up? It's all the anti-flat earth stuff. It's McTew stuff, Fight the Flat Earth. It's flatearth.ws. So it's all a lot of nonsense that's wrong. It's all this stuff turns up. So when it comes to present, you're saying No ordinary person is going to argue that. But Google is presenting their stuff to the ordinary person. They're not presenting Brian Cox anymore. They stopped doing that a long while back. Now it's presenting McToon. Do you understand the problem there? Now, it may not be much of a problem because the ordinary everyday person is going to, as soon as they dig, as QE would say, for Micah deep, they would find out that this person is not even linking the videos that they're claiming to be responding to in their own description. And when the person finds that video, it turns out that it was not what this person was making it out to be, blah, blah, blah. But Google is relying upon people's laziness. So the Google AI systems is promoting, like, here's a video from Fight the Flat Earth or from Simon Dan or whoever, and this explains why gravity is a force, just as an example, right? Even though it's not officially since 1915, it hasn't been officially within their paradigm. But you have a video from Simon Dan talking about how it is. So they're not even showing Veritasium now, well, because that would be giving the truth within their paradigm. They're showing Simon Dan to the average person, and that's what's getting promoted. Yeah.
But I don't know if you say to the normal person. I agree with everything to the last three words, right? When you say what they're showing the normal person, now they can still get away with presenting normies with Veritasium, but the people who are inquisitive of this subject are already halfway rolling down the hill, metaphorically speaking. They'll be presented Simon Dan.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And look, it could be a case of when I ask the question, because of me in my position and my IP address, I'm being given an answer from Grok AI or whoever that is not the same answer as some other person who's not involved in all this in Minnesota would get, right? For example. Maybe that's the case. Now, that has been the case with me in the past, where I've had to actually ask other people to go get things for me, because when I Google it, I get a load of rubbish. I don't get the links I'm looking for. Now, that's very likely happening too. So when I Google it, I get Simon Dan. That's who they give me. Maybe they're giving Joe Hamburg or someone else. I don't know. But maybe so. Or maybe they're being given the same rubbish as me. I don't know. People are lazy. They ask a question, they get an answer from Google, and they just go, okay, that's the answer. That's what they're looking for. They're betting on people being lazy. That's what Google is betting on. So their AI can give them any old rubbish and any old noise. And people will go, they'll see that the AI is lying to them about a completely different subject, but when it comes to whether gravity is a force or not, they just accept. Because it's gravity, and everyone knows that's real. And everyone knows it's a force, and that's what will go through people's heads. So they won't even bother investigating the situation. So it's a deeper, you know what I mean? So to even investigate whether or not gravity even is a force officially these days, you have to, as a normal person, you'd have to go through a lot of layers of rubbish to get to there. Most people aren't ever going to do that. So that's why they can present them Simon Dan and not Veritasium and get away with it.
Yeah, but once again, you see, the anti-flat earther will come into this arena and tell you it is a force.
Yeah, that's what Simon Dan will be telling his audience. When they share his video, the average everyday, some everyday person asks that question to Google, and they get presented with Simon Dan, and they just accept whatever Simon Dan says, even though what he says, or whoever, McToon, whoever it is, will be incorrect. They will accept that as just truth.
Well, actually, I just asked Grok, and Grok said, you and your force has been ruined. Quoting Simon Dan, I think he's got confused or something. Right, I'm going to round out. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Jolly good, jolly good. I just want an absolutely enormous microphone. It's almost 2 feet long. Called an MKH 816. Sennheiser.
Yep. Wonderful.
An outdoor microphone. Shotgun mic, like I use for the show. they're specifically for outdoor use, although I use them in a treated room, which is also fine. Some people use them for voiceover, same thing. But this is one that's double the length of the one I'd typically use. So it's a really long shotgun mic. Now, I'd never invest in something like this. It's just not something I'd ever use, but it's one of those, I'll try and sell it for a profit, obviously. But by the same token, I'm really quite intrigued about using it. So a 416, the half-length one, is an industry standard. Like, everyone uses them on BBC, or used to use them back in the day in the BBC. So it's like an industry standard location mic for filming. So you think things like Faulty Towers, all of the sound guys would have had 416s. Well, this is just a slightly longer version of the same mic, so it just does the same thing, but it works to reject things off to the sides to lower frequencies. But in order to do that, you've got to make it long, like a long bass frequency is long. So these mics end up being really big, like really long. You can only get an interference tube to do what it does at those frequencies if it's long, and I've just never had one. So I'm like, why not? I'll buy one. I've bought the most tattiest, busted up, broken, cheap, nasty one that I could find, because I'm like, more likely than not, it's something if I get stuck with it, I don't want it to have cost a fortune. You know what I mean? But by the same token, I do want to play with it. So it's kind of like my junky second-hand present to myself. So someone gave me some birthday money. I'm like, what do I actually want? I'm like, well, I want to play with microphones because I'm on a bit of a microphone vibe, as you probably know. I don't know if I mentioned it. I'll buy something I wouldn't normally buy just so I can play with it, make a video with it, probably lose money on it. But who cares, right? It's my present to myself that I'll use once. That's what you do with birthday money, isn't it?
So,
treat yourself.
So you're saying for your birthday you wanted a big 2-foot microphone. You're not saying that.
Yes, that's precisely what I'm saying. What do I want for my birthday? I asked myself. And I thought, well, I'd quite like to better the pencil condenser that I've got that I might end up recording Clover's acoustic guitar playing or something like that, right? But I'd also quite like to play with a really long shotgun mic. I almost bought one to replace the daily driver for the show. So I saw a Neumann that happened to be a similar sort of thing, a very long shotgun. I'm like, oh, but it's a Neumann. Oh, could I get away with using a really long shotgun in here to have a Neumann? I ended up obviously not doing that, but I was even contemplating it. So in this case, I know I'm not going to use it for the show, even though it's a really good mic and it's been used by the BBC. Who cares? It's probably used on many films as well, the 416 and 418 or whatever it's called. Anyway, the point being that I just want to play with it. And the fact that it's got paint flaking off it and it's got a really old connection from the 70s is kind of neither here nor there. If it works, I'll be happy to see what it does.
Your daughter's playing guitar, Nathan?
They both play many different instruments. There's Duolingo music, so they're learning to read music as well. They've got a keyboard and they've learned a bit of ukulele, and they do all sorts of stuff musically. Neither of them are that into it, though. I hope one of them becomes more interested than they are. They probably won't.
They will get into it. They will. When I brought the guitar and the bass and the drums, they sat there for a while. And then they just picked them up. And actually, my son was playing Bob O'Reilly the other day on the bass. And I just came in. I started ripping some Daltrey lyrics. We're going to start a band.
Yeah, my eldest daughter was saying it. She's like explaining to me what the chords in... It was a Taylor Swift song was. I can't remember what it was. One of the original Taylor Swift songs. Anyway, it only got 3 chords in it. And she's like... But she was kind of playing it down, saying just because I can play those 3 chords doesn't mean I could call myself a musician. And I was
yes, she can.
That's what I said. I was like, yeah. I gave her several examples of people that aren't marvellous guitarists, but you can find videos of them before they were popular singers, just sat on a stool strumming 3 chords and getting their way through a whole song that way. It's like,
that's the beauty of rock and roll.
Exactly.
3 chords, that's all you need.
Right. So I was explaining that to her. But, the fact that we're having that conversation means she's got a mild interest, but it's not something that she's, the eldest one, this is shown a particular aptitude for. Meanwhile, I had her learning, she's just taken it upon herself to start learning Japanese. I'm like, what are you saying? She's like, I'm just doing my Duolingo Japanese. I'm like, oh, okay. That's like the 6th language you've started learning then? She's like, yeah, I really like it. I'm like, okay. So she'll happily take it upon herself to learn another language. But me, I'm always nagging them going, no, can't you learn bit more guitar. Can't you get the keyboard out? And I'll drag it out and put it in front of them, and they'll learn whatever lesson I've put in front of them, but they won't necessarily go out and get it out themselves. So when I heard Clover singing about colours today, I congratulated her, and I was like, yes, that's nice, you're in tune. She's like, what did you say? And I'm like, you're in tune, well done. Oh, thank you, Daddy. While she's just sat singing about colours. But no, I don't think either of them are going to be a singer, but I can dream and buy microphones in the hope that I'll point one of them at a guitar one day and have them singing into it. But that's not what the mic I've bought for is. The mic I've bought is for trying to pick something up that's 20 feet away. And typically that's a very difficult task for a microphone. I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, with music, it's all timing. Like when I started singing, it was throwing my son off, and I was trying to tell him, no, you just keep playing the rhythm. Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Indeedy. And they've taken that advice from then on, haven't they? They don't worry about what you're doing anymore.
Right. So when she's playing, start singing so she gets used to the singing and just playing what she needs to play. Because what you do is you start listening to the other person, you start playing towards that. It's all about timing and singing in the right timing.
Indeedy.
Nathan, you were saying something about Bob the other day, that when he was doing that Netflix show, that he was saying, well, this is a problem for Flat Earth. Do you recall that?
Yes, because he bullshitted that he didn't know he was mic'd. As soon as he said it, I'm like, you lying bastard.
Oh, okay. So I got it now. So he said it, but he was claiming that he didn't say it, or he didn't know that he was being recorded.
Yes. Which to me, I just saw straight through.
What a show.
You're like, you might get away with, to the unsuspecting audience member, to get away with that as a gag in The Naked Gun. Like Leslie Nielsen's strolled off as Drebin, mic'd, and goes into the bathroom, and then you hear the comedic toilet sounds. So, yeah, it'll work for a toilet humour gag in a Naked Gun movie. But in reality, when you're mic'd, you are acutely aware of that fact. Either, like now, with me with a giant mic pointing in front of me, or if you're on a radio pack, then you've got a bloody uncomfortable radio pack wrapped around you with wires. You know, you don't get little tiny lav... The lav mic's tiny, yeah? So as far as the visual aesthetic of having a lav mic on you, you can hide them. That's the point. But to hide them, you've got to have a body pack on. And there's nobody on God's green earth that's unaware that they're wearing a freaking radio mic. It's utterly absurd to suggest so. So when he did, I'm like, this sets off a lot of red flags for me. You know, I've had to tape microphones to people before. This is bullshit. What's he talking about? Is he going to make me believe that he hasn't got a load of wires wrapped around him and a little pack that's a pain in the arse and constantly losing signal, and having sound men come and check that it's constantly wired and check that the batteries are working and check that the switches are in the right position? Bullshit, you didn't know you had it on. Are you having me on? You've got to be kidding me. No. The second you're mic'd with that thing, you're acutely aware that you're perma-mic'd. It's all you can think about because it's on you. It's a bloody lav mic. What a joke. You know, I bet, there we go. I mean, I won't get annoyed about it. It's one of those things. It's where the crossover between why have I suddenly branched into mics? Easy transition. I studied at college.
It's like the mafia boss catches the undercover cop with a wire, and he says, "Oh, I didn't know."
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying was he was calling us all stupid.
We just don't know. If I just think he was doing it intentionally. I just think he's a freaking shill. Bob Nodell, that is. You don't know that you're mic'd. Piss off. You're having me on. But no, as far as his audience is, well, where's the mic? I can't see it. Is what the audience understands to be the case. Yeah. So you're appealing to what people visually recognise. Well, what about the people who know that you've got a body pack on and you have a sound guy pissing around with it for a long time because they're awkward? So you just expect me to believe that it just fucking farted and arrived at your person and then you didn't realise? I was just suddenly mic'd. I had no idea. There wasn't a sound guy messing around for ages with it, making sure everything was all as it should be, with a wire wrapped around my physical person. No, it just arrived on me and then suddenly I was being recorded. I didn't even realise. Bullshit. No, that was part of a scripted narrative that Bob said. He said what the audience... It's a freaking soap opera at that point. That's all I saw it as. I'm like, this is a soap opera then. You know what I mean? You want me to believe that? Unfortunately, no, I've worked behind the fourth wall plenty. So no, Bob, you dick. I'm not going to buy that, but everyone else will. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you've spotted the fourth wall break, when there's people around you alleging to be on your own side, breaking all the rules, you're like, hang on a second. I'm back here. I'm behind the set. And I can see what you're doing. On camera, there's no wires, no mic. But from where I'm looking, I can see them all hanging out your ass, dickhead. Know what I'm saying? That's literal. I can literally see them. I can see the mics poking out your ass. Not being figurative. I'm being literal.
I agree, Brian. They're all liars.
Indeed. But there's certain narratives that people put across in Flat Earth that I've always thought stunk, that just didn't make any sense. Sometimes you convince yourself that you haven't seen it, you delude yourself that it isn't there. Sometimes you'll even have people telling you it's there and you'll deny it and tell them they're wrong. Nah, you're just seeing things. But yeah, a lot of these people were here to gaslight us the whole time. That's what they were doing. Easy to spot with hindsight. But at the time, I was probably defending Bob. I'm sure it's perfectly legit. Until it becomes too egregious, and then you become a grocery delivery boy. Scammer. Right? Well, I'm glad we had this discussion. It's been emotional.
Well, if you could come up with something other than Earth is measured flat, then maybe it'd be a little more interesting. What's wrong with you?
That's all I've got, I'm afraid, Neil. I'm sorry. It's not enough.
But they're all lawyers, Nathan. Just look at Whitsitt. The first thing he said when he came back, like, he was there saying, I didn't hit a vape. I didn't hit any vape. Then he, some while later, stating, I stated the minute I was asked that I did hit a vape. Do you know what I mean? These people just never stop. But these globebusters, they're constant liars. Constant. Even when they're corrected, let's say when QE or Adam corrected them or something, right? One of these people, Zachary Zabal or one of these people. And they just completely ignore it and go back to waffling on the same rubbish out to an audience. That means that they're knowingly lying to the audience.
Yeah, and I think that's intentional too.
You are.
The double speak is intended to create an air of falsity around the narrative so that you can focus on that as a viewer. So you can say, I know that they're faking being in Antarctica because why would Whitsitt need to lie about vaping? He's just trying to affirm that he's somewhere he isn't. So then you come up with this whole narrative. If they're all creating enough doubt, like there's something else I can't remember that I call the same sort of thing, an alleged edit. So some pixel peaking dude has come up with this idea that there's TVs stitched together because in certain frames of the videography on the live stream, you can see what looks like a stitch mark. You're like, okay. And then a week later, they're like, look, it's been removed. You're like, oh, okay. So this is presented in such a way that we can then argue about whether or not it's an attempt at tellies, as opposed to focusing on what we've focused on. I mean, I don't need to reiterate how Earth was measured flat there, but you know what I'm getting at. It's created in a way that keeps you arguing about this insignificant shit, like whether or not they're in tellies. You're like, what? Is that what we're supposed to argue about?
Yeah.
Well,
Same with the bloody... Sorry, bro.
Just 1 second with it. I wouldn't say it's insignificant, Nathan, to find out whether or not the thing was real or fake. I wouldn't say that's insignificant, because I would say that is very significant. Now, the thing you're talking about was that someone noticed that there was a corner in the sky. And it was when they pointed it out, everyone could see, yes, there was a corner in the sky. And the video was up on Wix's channel. I don't know if he took the video, but it was up on his channel. And it was removed and then put back up without the corner. So,
yeah, I remember.
I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, I understand you're saying, but you're not focusing on the measurements. Technically, the measurements, there's no guarantee any of them ever happened.
Yeah, I get that.
You go through my very last video on it.
No,
right?
I totally understand.
Now, I don't go into that because I don't go into that for reasons. But the point being is that the whole thing is over time more and more shady. And the fact that this corner was there, then the video was taken down, then put back up without the corner, that is tricky.
Oh, you want to focus on that, do you, bleeding shill?
Well, I'm not quite like I can't accept anything they told us, including the measurements that they claim they've got. I certainly can't, because I myself have shown evidence that the measurements that they seem to have gotten,
just why
they wouldn't have been able to get for certain reasons, blah, blah, blah.
You need to. Do you care? I mean, are you relying on this stuff?
No,
yes
it's not
and
that.
no.
It's just, yeah, go on, Adam, go on. Maybe you can word it back.
After Lite 4, right? For these guys.
Start again. I didn't hear the first bit. Start again.
My bro.
You're a little bit. Just start again.
I'll drop and go.
Drop and drum. Okay, you drop and drum. We'll hear from you in a sec. Yeah, it's going to explain why it's important to keep the argument from within the pond that I metaphorically described earlier concise for all the people who are in the pond.
No, I was going to tackle it like that. It's this data. Yeah? Number one, if this level of data was presented by flat earthers, would any of the ballers accept? And the answer is no. But we have to hold this magnanimous position so they're not called really liars, just in case it isn't this year. So we have to be a bit more magnanimous than the baller would be if we'd have gone and shown the sunset. The level of scrutiny and quality of data to prove it would have been much higher. That's what smells about this whole situation. It's crap with issues and a player. That's what they want us to screen. Which is,
yeah, but I mean,
I would buy on that. But just one thing. But from a personal point of view, if they've come back with proper empirical results that were validated and demonstrated, fundamentally, all of these flat Earth measurements, but did demonstrate a 24-hour sun, well, that's something I could move forward with positively. Yeah, it becomes a fact. But the reality is, from what they presented, I can't even move forward with it as a fact.
Okay, I get you. I wouldn't accept it either. I mean, I have to preface it every time I say they're measuring Earth flat there, whether or not they're measuring it in a 10 to tellies. In other words, it's completely bunk. It's not really a measurement of anything. Who cares? It's just all fake. Therefore, they're measuring Earth flat in a 10 to tellies. Or if they did actually legitimately go to the land they call Antarctica, via whatever means they suggested they did, and it's absolutely legitimate. Then they measured Earth flat legitimately in Antarctica. But if you were to ask me now, well, do you accept that there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica based purely on what they presented? I'd say no, it seems shady as all frig. You know, the first-hand testimony that I got from a man who presented his crappy photos, admittedly, because they were period correct and crappy from his phone. Well, he didn't give testimony to that being the case when he spent a significant period of time there. Now, that's all I've got to go on, and it conflicts with what they've shown. But what they've shown is shady as all frig, and I don't trust any of them as far as I can throw them, and they didn't provide really high-quality data. You know, I haven't seen really high quality measurements. I saw McToon wave something at Brian and Brian say, well, they're flat earth elevation angles, but that's about it. You know, I mean, again, I was going to say, well, the other thing that, just to play devil's advocate for a second, I mean, why would they be dodgy and faking them? It's not like they were down there with a CGI expert, you know what I mean?
Well, why would they go there and say, I've just filmed it all, but I couldn't film it quite right because I set my scope to go the wrong way. I sent it, you know what I mean? It suddenly started going the wrong way halfway through it. There were so many things, like I said, that make the data what did they unacceptable to them if it was demonstrating something like because and quality. There was always an excuse why it was bollocks. There was the first there, the odds throwing in CGI overlays. There's a reasonable excuse, and there's this. Do you know what I mean? It smelt like the whole thing was set up. Now, it's not to say I'm not confident I would indict them on it, but it does mean that, as you say, if you were to ask me, is there a 24-hour sun based on just their evidence? I'd say no. It looks so shonky, I couldn't place any validity on it, whether it's right or wrong. You know, if I had to put money on it, that'd be the only answer I could.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wouldn't.
Standard.
Yes, I completely agree. I wouldn't accept
Nathan,
it. Good.
Nathan could have went. He refused his invitation.
No, it didn't.
He could have gone through.
No, there wasn't one. There's been no back and forth between me and Duffy. There's been no decline of an invitation I received. He's never going to show any email exchange between he and I. I've condemned him to hell for lying about it. So, yes, you're not going to trigger me with this. You can try. Anyway,
yeah, but now he's going to use the fact that you didn't open the email to validate his other claim.
I don't mind. You can do that. I don't mind. That's fine. Because I've stopped caring. Now, don't get me wrong, my apathy's being moaned about. Here we go. Go ahead, Adam.
I can hear you vibrate. He did the same thing, or was doing the same thing to Dave Moore, allegedly Dave. Exact same tactic, claiming he had invited him on emails, etc., etc. Dave lays out, somebody put it in Master B. I posted it for you because he said, where's the response? But if you read it, he eloquently lays out exact same thing. No, you're a lying, duplicitous scrote. You never offered me anything. Stop pretending you did.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's kind of even responding in that way plays, as far as I'm concerned, into what they require from me, or in this case, Dave. Now, I'm not knocking Dave for responding and making it clear in terms of what's going on. That's, his prerogative. But yeah, they are just lying shitbags. And as soon as you get involved with them, something that is said in response will get twisted now. You know what I mean? And so it goes on.
Yep.
Well, that's because they're duplicitous shitbags. And that,
Which shows...
Sorry, go on.
That shows your faces. It's not here to prove anything. They get to engage with us to try and demonstrate to us false somehow with 3 months. Yeah, but they're desperate to engage. That's why they're sod off, you lying, not even engaging with you. And that's how they do these guys, because that's show controlled opposition by the mainstream, by powers that would hate to have the knowledge that the Earth is flat out there, that it's measured flat. They'd hate that. So this is with segregators, this is still their attempt to deal with this. Don't for 1 minute he's praised Aaron Pastor. And if I put money on it, he's a bloke that's been offered a lot of money to go and humiliate himself whilst trying to get our attention. And that's his whole purpose, is to get our attention.
Yeah, well, I'm simultaneously saying we don't need you anymore. We don't have any attention to give you because you're not required. It's measured flat. You've measured it flat regardless of if you're being in a 10 to tellies measuring it flat or in Antarctica measuring it flat. But just back to the original point that we've come to with this, and I completely agree. The legitimacy of what they've suggested, regardless of if I'm using it to suggest they've measured it flat, is so dubious that I think it's done intentionally. No one took the bait when I was like, well, they haven't exactly gone down there with the CGI expert. Well, they did. That's what one of the flat earthers was alleged to be. Now, he might be, he might not be. That might not be true either. Again, it's just put there so that we can say they went there with a CGI expert.
Yeah.
Because that's the idea, that it all seems to be done intentionally shite, so that we come up with these narratives and argue about them. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
then
true,
next-
Nathan.
Yeah, Brian.
Go ahead.
No. I'm going to talk about something else tied to that. But you go ahead.
Okay, yeah. See, the thing is that the CGI expert might have had nothing to do with anything. But because he's claimed to be a CGI expert, if we start calling out why was he there and why was he claimed to be a flat earther or what he wasn't, then we can be called conspirators. Do you know what I mean? So we can speak about it privately behind closed doors, but we can't speak about it publicly without looking like we're being conspirators. Because they could then show this at any time that, well, he had actually, they would have known thing was actually real, blah, 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 blah. But what I said to you earlier on is they wouldn't have been able to get the measurements is that they claim to get is because the coordinates given for the two camps, the one they claim to get the measurements from and the base camp, which is the camp with all the tents and facilities near the mountain, those coordinates do not match the elevation profile between those coordinates. Well, the footage doesn't fit the elevation profile. The coordinates, the distance between the main camp near the mountain and its distance from the mountain doesn't fit the coordinates. So the whole thing is up in the air. So there's no good information coming that all gels together, if you understand what I mean. So I like the measurements they're claiming, they're just the angle they would need to get for a globe if they could get angles off a globe. You understand what I mean? They could just put them together on a piece of paper. They don't have to measure anything. Do you understand what I mean? It's just the information concerning the coordinates of the camps and the elevation profile and the distance between the main camp and the mountain and the shadow of the mountain. There's just too many things there that just that has nothing to do with whether there was a CGI expert there or not. It's just not gelling together. It doesn't fit with actual reality. That's the problem.
Well, Brian, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. I wanted to bring it to the new thing that Duffy's promoting now. That he's picked 24 flat earthers and 24 globers to debate. What do you think that would be like? Really?
It's not a topic of debate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's calling it the final debate, innit?
Yeah, the final debate to back up the final experiments. Yeah, it's a constant on the Celebrate Truth channel. That's silly in itself. Robbie Davidson turns it over to friggin' Duffy to just promote his nonsense. Now, my opinion, just ignore the email, just ignore everything. We don't need them. They need us.
No, but he'll contact people like Karen B. He'll contact people like Karen B to go and debate on behalf of the flat earthers.
And she'll respond and hand them a book about Scientism and say, here's my answer.
I thought the debate was over with the final experiment. Now he's going to have a massive debate.
Well, he's claiming that he's claiming the reason why he's doing it. Basically because everybody hasn't left. Because there's still flat earthers out there. He's got to get this debate going. Everybody should have left by now.
There's no money in the cure.
I don't know.
What's up, Adam?
I always thought Spider-Man Says was a pretty good song. Obviously, no Cure fans here. No mind.
I didn't hear.
So, Nathan, you still haven't opened the email, right?
It's not like it's in a queue to be opened. I brushed past it for about 10 seconds in amongst the hundreds, if not thousands of emails that I have. I went, oh yeah, there's Will Duffy. Then scrolled down to see if any microphones had sold, and then that was days ago. It's now 1,000 emails ago.
So he desires you, huh? Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, well, like I say, I'm indifferent to these idiots now.
You know what's coming next. You don't want to debate, right? You're afraid of the debate.
Oh, that's
and
okay.
if you know Earth is measured flat, then why you're not coming on and debating with us about it?
Why don't they pay him?
Because there is no debate.
Exactly. If you desire me that much, just pay me. No worries. I'll be there.
That's another thing. That pay he offers, $500, really? You think that first it was $250. $250? That's what you think we are worth? Stick it up your ass.
He's offering $250/$500 to the charity of his choice. How lovely. That's nice of you.
Would you not, Nathan? Would you not say, yeah, I'll go. Just put a ridiculous price in and see if he goes for it.
Goes for what?
Like to do this the final debate.
To do the final debate? What? Ask him to pay me? He's not offering to pay me.
Yes, I'll.
No. You're all right. No. What I'm not going to do is go and dance with the devil and ask him to pay me for it. I'm all right, thanks. But if he'd have come to me and offered me money, which he hasn't, from what I understand, he's offering to pay charities for me doing the work. Well, as much as I admire his generosity to the charities, no, unfortunately, I've got a charity of my own. It's called paying the mortgage and keeping the kids fed. So he'd have to pay me. And he's not offering that. If he was, that'd be a different story, wouldn't it? Then I'd negotiate with him and I'd expect payment before I did anything. I'd expect to see the money in my bank. Then I might do stuff. But he's not offering that. So I'm not going to go, oh, you're offering it for charity. Can you give me the money instead of the charity? So he can go and tell his audience that Nathan said that instead of giving the money to charity, he would do it, but only if he got paid. So what he's really saying is he wants to deny the money from the charity. That's what he's going to do. He's a wanker. You don't know what? I don't think I see these sorts of things coming a mile away. I just don't get involved with these twats. Yeah? That's because that's what twats do. Now, like I say, it's a different story if he's coming and going, I'll give you money if you come and be at this particular date to do this particular event. I go, okay. Put it in my bank then. And if it doesn't appear, you never do it. If it does, you go, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Now, there's certain people who are on my own side that seem friendly on the surface that offer that and you do it before payment. But when you're a wanker, you expect payment up front, right? He's not offering any of this, so I'm never going to talk to him
Perfect. That's the way he's to be treated. I was always taught you treat people accordingly. And that's the proper way to treat this cat.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
That's begging the question.
Yeah, well, just this, I read this email by Duffy to Karen B, which I think you covered on a previous show. And of course, it comes with the string attached that whoever then, it's implied, right? Whoever doesn't want to participate, they don't want to donate money to charity, right? They don't want to participate in this wonderfully, he's such a, what's the word, philanthropist, right? So it always comes with some string attached.
Yes, precisely.
I didn't know about that charity thing. That's coming from him. It's just pretty scummy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just spin it the same way. So Duffy's charitable nature, given the amount of money he's got, is dependent on what I do. Oh, what a tight-fisted scumbag. Whether or not he gives the poor individuals his 500 quid shouldn't be dependent on what someone else does. That sounds like he's shafting charities based on what individuals will do. Oh, well, that's pretty tight-fisted given how much money he's got. You'd think he'd just give the money to charity because that's what charities want, right? They're not interested in whether or not I'm doing something, but Duffy, with all of his money, is making conditional charitable donations. What a scumbag. Offering conditional donations to charity. How scummy do you get? You're not just going to give him the money, Duffy, you tight sod. You scumbag. Conditional charitable donations. Oh my God. You notice how I can do exactly the same as Duffy would have done to me and just spin his so-called philanthropy into him being a scumbag that's making conditional donations. So easy. Yeah, I can do it too. Yeah. And knowing what scumbags do, I'll just do it preemptively. So I expect Duffy to just give that money to charity regardless of what I do. I could say, I'm not going to get involved with these scumbags and their stupid games when they're pretending to give charities money. I don't want to get involved with scumbags that give conditional donations. Why would I get involved with this kind of scumbaggery? I mean, people give money to charity because people need money in charities. Not this scumbag. He takes these charities and weaponizes them against his flat earth opponents. What a scumbag. See how easy it is? See how easy it is to turn Duffy into a total scumbag with his charitable donations. Somehow these charitable donations are now turning into him being a scumbag, aren't they? Being weaponized. Because he's not just giving the money to charity, he's weaponizing charitable donations. What a scumbag. Easy, innit? Yeah, I can do it too. I wouldn't do such a thing. I'm not a total scumbag like Will Duffy with his charitable donations. I wouldn't do such things.
Perfect. Listen, you're treating him accordingly.
Now, ordinary,
Well
I'd have asked how they taste, but I get told off for that. In these circumstances, should Duffy hear this? Because it must sting when you've set up some charitable donations to weaponise against your opponents, and then they point that out to the audience that you're weaponising charities, and suddenly you come off looking like a right scumbag, and you'll have to spend even more money to get a net positive out of your scumbaggery and your conditional charitable donations. Suddenly you've got to give them the money anyway, regardless of what the opponent you try to weaponise this charity with does. I bet that'd piss you off royally. Yeah, when I'm laughing down the barrel of my camera at Duffy. Yeah, he'll know about that, won't he? Yeah? You scumbag. Don't weaponise charity, scumbag. How scummy do you need to be? Yeah? Just give them the money, you tight sod. I can't do such things. I haven't got any time or money, unfortunately, to give to charities like you have, obviously. When you weaponise them, you scumbag. How do they taste? Yeah, salty? Yeah, I bet they do. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I wouldn't want to deal with people like that. I don't like people who weaponise charities.
And don't forget, you got the documentary coming out soon.
Did they put it in the documentary that he weaponised these charities? Obviously, we want to make it clear to everybody what Will Duffy does when he weaponises charities.
Well, I'm thinking that's the whole part of it now. He's going to have this little 24 against 24 debate. He'll get it together somehow. Because there'll be some gullible flat earthers that join up.
I'm just not clear about what's happening. They're going to debate Will Duffy's weaponisation of charities. Is that what is being debated?
No, they're going to debate what happened.
So they're not. They're not even going to discuss Will Duffy's weaponisation of charities. They're not even going to discuss it. Oh my God. Really? I think that should be the first thing on the discussion agenda. Why is Will Duffy weaponising charities? I don't care. I've got my own concerns, obviously.
The thing is, Nathan, what they're trying to do is not give, let's say, you money. They want the money to go to some charity instead of giving it to you. When the whole point of you asking for money or debate is so you personally get money. I'm the same. I am the charity. Don't get, you know what I mean? I'm not interested in that over charity. I am that charity. Charity is Brian's logic. Give me the money. That's why I'm asking for it. Right? And what they're trying to do, besides the fact they're trying to make you into being into a bad guy because you want the money, you won't give it to charity. They're saying, well, I'll give this amount of money to charity if you debate. Right? What's really going on there is they're trying to, first of all, make you say, no, give it to me, which is character assassination, then set up a character assassination attempt. But also, they just don't want to give you the money. That's the real problem.
Yep.
I would doubt very much even $5 out of 500 sees it goes to where it's supposed to go to. Do you know what I mean? Where they'd be trying to say the charity, when they say they're giving it to charity, what does that mean? Most of the time, what does money given to charity? Where does that go? Into someone's new Mercedes? Do you know what I mean? Give me a break.
It goes into his left pocket.
What's going in? These conditional donations. Sorry, we're talking like there's donations he's making. These conditional donations he's used to weaponise. Is that the donation? These aren't real donations.
Yeah.
Are they? He's weaponising charities.
They're going to the wrong country.
It's amazing how easily you can character assassinate someone, isn't it, Brian? Easy when you know how.
Yes.
They've been doing it for years.
So they got. Everything they do results in a character assassination because that's all they've got.
Right. Like Robotham eating his children or something to that effect. It's always been character assassination. If somebody's getting close to flat Earth, character assassinate them.
Right, I'm going to round out this show. With that, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.